You're on the air, Supervisor.
We're on.
Good morning. Today is Thursday, April 1st, 2020. We're here for a work session. And as always, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Frank, can you please take the lead?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Frank. Just one announcement today on behalf of the entire town board. I want to extend a warm holiday wishes to all those celebrating Passover, which started last week and extends through April 4th, as well as those celebrating Easter this coming weekend. Town hall buildings are closed tomorrow, and they will reopen for normal business hours on Monday, April 5th, 2021. All residents are reminded to remain vigilant and follow CDC and Department of Health guidelines, and follow the 3 W's. Wear your mask, watch your distance, and wash your hands. Okay, moving on. Our first discussion here today will be with Dawn Thomas. She's here with Peter Scalzo and Dennis Quintanoni to discuss matters surrounding possible Chapter 255 event, EPCAL Scramble. Dawn, can you please come forward?
Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's everyone?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Pete Scalzo and Dennis Quintone have been working in the racing industry for many years. They have a proposal for a special event at EPCAL, and they wanted to make a presentation to you. They can handle their business pretty well, as I've spoken to them many times, and I think they have a DVD they'd like to have you watch. I'm not sure at what point in time you want to do that, or if you want to just do an intro first.
Yeah, I would like to.
Okay, so, did you want to come to the mic, please?
Sure.
Oh, okay, there's one in front of you, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you want to come up here, and then you can, then they can get the camera on you too.
Okay, good.
Let me get out of your way.
Sorry, Dawn, temporarily vacated you. Good morning.
Good morning. Can I take my mask off or no?
Sure, you,
Thank you.
6 feet apart from everyone
Okay.
else. Fine.
Again, my name is Peter Scalzo. I've been in the motorsports promotion business for over 35 years. And I'm very much involved in drag racing at this point, as I'm getting a little bit older in years. My background includes motocross racing, again, drag racing, stock car racing. Also, I was the man that promoted the last event ever that Evel Knievel jumped at, which was in Miami, Florida. I had a racetrack in Miami, Florida, called County Line Dragway that I opened up in 2007. Excuse me. The county was having a major problem with the illegal street drag racing, which was on US 27, just outside of the site of the Opa-locka West Airport. The airport was shut down for aviation. They were going to turn it into a rock pit. When I read that in the paper, I got in touch with Mr. Greg Owens with the aviation department, and I said, I'd like to open up a drag strip on a temporary basis. And his answer was, well, we're shutting it down, and we're going to build a rock pit. And I said, I understand, but you're going to have to go through Durham, DEP, et cetera, to get the permitting. Give me a 1-year guarantee, and after 1 year, once you're ready to build this rock pit, they dig the rock pits in South Florida for the base for the roads and high rises. At that point, then my career will be over as far as racing at that site. They thought it over, they made a deal with me, and they said, okay. What I did was I opened that track, and I'd like to show a little video of what we were able to accomplish, and it was special was done on the race track by Andrew Zimmern. I don't know if folks ever watched the Travel Channel. He has 2 shows, one called Bizarre Foods, and the other one, Bizarre World. We were featured on Bizarre World.
Give me the.
a chef, not a gearhead or race fan.
How we doing? Playing or watching?
We're playing. But here at the County Line Dragway, 15 miles outside of Miami, Florida, the recipe for one high-octane Friday night is simple. Take an abandoned airport with miles of unused runway space. Mix in gasoline, adrenaline, and add speeds of well over 100 miles an hour. Ratchet in some driving maneuvers that would normally land you in jail, and top it off with some killer Floridian-style cooking. Oh, did I mention? The cops are here.
Why do I think this is not necessarily one of the smartest things I've ever agreed to do?
All right, y'all have a good night.
Welcome to Beat the Heat, a monthly drag racing competition pitting amateur speed junkies head-to-head against the police officers of Medley, Florida. The reasons are simple. Police-sponsored drag racing on a designated racetrack has cleared the streets of the illegal street racing that endangers the public. It's safe, it's fun, and it's controlled. And who doesn't want to see if their car could outrace the fuzz?
How did this whole thing start? Because this is pretty much the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, a couple of us got together and we had an idea to think outside the box and see what we could do to get street racers off the streets and bring them to the track where it's safe and legal.
Jose Grumpy Ayala is one of Medley Police Department's finest and a real spark plug on the racetrack.
So we came up with this, and it's working pretty good.
Since the event's inception in 2007, illegal street racing in Miami has decreased by over 50%, allowing the police to disband a once overstrapped street racing task force.
And in Florida, it's actually a law problem, right? I mean, you know, people are racing on the streets, which puts everyone in danger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, crashes all the time, injuries, people
Yeah.
getting killed all the time. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it puts a strain on us because then it makes us the bad guys. We got to go out there and enforce these laws, write tickets, arrest people.
But no tickets are issued here. The event draws hundreds of competitors and over 1,000 spectators from around the Sunshine State.
Get a shot of what he's doing there now. We laid down the glue, and now we've got the heat down there so that it will be sticky. So
The MC for the night is Pete Scalzo. He and his wife Marie own the Dragway and have co-sponsored Beat the Heat with the Medley Police Department for the last 2 years.
You're sort of the first lady of the drag strip,
Well, thank you.
which in Florida means several things, but tonight we're talking about cars.
Marie presents me with the noble chariot she drove to victory against the police back in 2008.
I beat the heat.
She's loaning it to me tonight so I can experience what it feels like to race a cop.
I've been driving since I was 16, but I've never stood in front of a tree of lights. I've never had someone else next to me revving up a big-ass motor. All right, let's go.
Okay.
Ready or not, it's my turn to face off against the fuzz. My competition is Officer Ayala. In his souped-up police cruiser, he's been leaving would-be drag racers in the dust all night long. I'm hoping Marie's victory vehicle can rise to the challenge.
Oh, yeah, racing the cops.
Since Officer Ayala beat me in our first matchup, I'll be given a head start on the next race to hopefully level the playing field.
I'll tell you, your heart is beating 1,000,000 miles an hour, stepping up to a real starting line. Now in this race, I get a head start, and he'll try to catch up with me. Son of a gun, look at that. Here it comes. Oh, unbelievable! Ah! Oh, man. Unbelievable!
I didn't think I'd get you.
No, come on. You didn't think you'd get me. I'm sitting there, I'm like 2/3 of the way down. I'm like, there's no way he can catch up to me. The moment you see cherry lights, you're like, I gotta slow down. But I'm like, I gotta speed up.
You
He's
gotta
catching me. That is sick, sick fun.
It's a blast.
It's the
blast.
best.
Glad you
It's the
enjoyed
best.
it.
Thank you so
Anytime.
much.
Okay, I wanted to show you that because of what I did in Miami, Florida. And now let's talk about what the situation we have here and what I'm presenting to you. I know that over the years, there's been many people that have made presentations, including myself, to use EPCAL for a full-blown drag strip. And in my opinion, which doesn't really matter, but it is an excellent, excellent site. However, we know it would be a tremendous amount of community kickback on that, mainly because of noise. And drag racing does create noise. So that brings us to the proposal that I want to make. When I looked into what the town code is, the town of Riverhead has a code that addresses raceways. And in that code, it says that there's a certain amount of months per year that you can run, April through September, a certain amount of days that you can operate, 2 days per week, a certain amount of events that you can run, a maximum of 28, and also the hours per day when you run, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. if it's a daytime event, or from 4 p.m. to 10:45 if it's a nighttime event. And most important, which eliminates the real, I guess, focus or the real hope for the racing community, is all vehicles must have mufflers, which eliminates the top fuel dragsters, the alters, all the top race cars, which will bring in a tremendous amount of spectators, et cetera. However, the town code says you can't do that. You must have mufflers. So that brings us to what my proposal is. My proposal is to run something called the Racetrack, Not Street Drag Racing Series at EPCAL. I envision this to be a 14 event series of races over a 7-week period. That would be 2 per weekend, complying with all the regulations that you have in your town code. And this would be for cars, SUVs, motorcycles, vans, whatever vehicle. Another slogan that we have is you run what you brung. I own all the timing equipment that is necessary for this from my other racetracks. That'll include the electronic timing system, the time slips for every run. It'll be, of course, drag racing, 2 races per run. I believe that each competitor will get 10 to 15 runs a night. And so we will be able to have a venue for these people that are street racing to race at. In Miami, what you just saw, what I did in Miami, they were able to disband their special task force after 6 months after we were operating County Line Dragway. Here in Long Island, do you have a problem with drag racing? Absolutely you do. Just recently, your neighboring town of Yaphank in December had a tremendous crackdown on the illegal street racing. Steve Ballone was involved. He spoke about it, helicopters, et cetera, et cetera. What we're presenting, what we're proposing is we're going to give them the site where they can come and race these street legal. I don't want to say street legal because there might be a vehicle that is not a street-driven car. However, they must comply with all of your regulations as far as your town code. We will have a definite impact on the illegal street racing. We will have added revenue for local businesses, gas stations, convenience stores, hotels, restaurants, et cetera. We will also have an immediate income to the town of Riverhead by your special event permit fees, and also something which we haven't discussed yet, but that would be a daily rental fee rate that I would have to pay. I have all the connections with the insurance companies. I have a tremendous background with the insurance companies, the major motorsports companies, such as K&K Insurance, and also Safehold Special Risk. And we will provide, I've seen the application, the special event application, and I can comply with all of the regulations that the special event application does require. Again, this is not a full-blown drag strip with all the big cars. This is something that will get the kids off the streets, will generate income, and I think it'd be a heck of a trial to show what drag racing is all about at your beautiful facility, and it's all on my dime. I know it would be a tremendous success. One more part of the video I'd like to show, and then I'd like to open up some questions. Is, of course, you folks don't know me, but let me just show you something that we were able to put together on one of my other racetracks, which was just outside of Jacksonville, Florida, called Green Cove Dragway.
Don't make me look bad, Chief.
It's not that good, believe me. Welcome to Green Cove Springs. I want to take the opportunity to say that this has been quite a delivery of services. Pete has come through on everything that he said he was going to deliver. To my fellow officers from Medley, from Jacksonville, and all the Beat the Heat units, thank you for coming down to our grand opening. We appreciate it. And for those who don't know, Green Cove Springs will be getting involved in the Beat the Heat. I just spoke with the mayor. He's very supportive of it. We will be out here defending the title of law enforcement against the kids that want to race us on the track. So it's safe for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Folks, a couple of words from the Assistant City Manager of Green Cove Springs, Mr. Mike Knoll.
Woo! Thank you, Pete. I appreciate you having us out here today. This is my first time out here. It won't be my last. You've done a phenomenal job setting this up. Looks like a wonderful event. A lot of people come out and enjoy it. I want to invite everybody, once you all are done here today, please come back to the city of Green Cove Springs. We have our Christmas on Walnut Street celebration. We'll be lighting the city Christmas tree at 6 o'clock and have a lot of vendor booths set up and so forth, so come out and see us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just while I want to have you meet a man here who, not particularly this man, but I was really worried because we were told you have to go in front of the Green Cove Springs City Commission, City Council, and at the meeting we had gone to, they had some questions for me, and I started to speak to somebody, and we're talking all about racing and all, and I don't know who this guy is. Well, it turns out it's the mayor. And we went in front of the city council, and I am proud to say they approved us 5-0. And I got one question for you, Mayor. You think that was a good decision?
Pete, it was a great decision. We appreciate you guys being here, appreciate what you're doing. Are you guys having fun? Yeah! Come on, a little louder, bring it up. Listen, it's a dangerous thing to give a politician a mic and not give him a timeline. But I'm not going to do that this afternoon. I'm going to echo the words that the Assistant City Manager said. When you wrap up here this afternoon, there's some great restaurants in town. We'll encourage you to come try them out. There's a little bit of a street party going on Walnut Street, so if you've got a little extra time, engage in that, and we appreciate your being here. Have a great time this afternoon, Pete. Thanks.
Thanks for coming out, Mayor. We do appreciate you visiting. We also want to recognize, folks, this is our 4th racetrack that my wife and I have owned. They have all been IHRA-sanctioned tracks. And we have the representative from the IHRA here today, Mr. Phil Gingrich. And Phil, you follow us all over the country, and we do love you.
Thank you, Pete, Marie, Doug. Your crew has done a fantastic job here. I think the community is overly excited. I've received several phone calls wanting to know really what's going on before they got the website put up. And I just said that we're going to have to wait and see the finished project. And a finished project it is. And we're real proud of Pete and his staff. We now currently have 107 tracks across the country and in foreign countries. So welcome. You're one of our more recent ones, and we look forward to many, many years of just keep leading me around the country, Pete. All right?
We look forward to it. Thank you very much, Phil.
I just wanted to show you that, a little bit of what I'm proud of and what I'm all about, and I can bring that excitement and positive vibes to what we plan to do out here at IPCAL. Any questions?
Yes, I have a couple of comments. First of all, let it be known that we're not bringing drag racing to EPCAL. Okay, so it's a 255 permit.
Yeah, special event.
It's just a special event. I don't want people to be, not understand. The other thing, can you talk to us about spectators and traffic? Because that would be a concern to the community.
Sure. As far as the spectators and the traffic is concerned, we have the option, and I guess it would be at your, what you might say, we do have the option of either coming off of 25 or coming off of Grumman. The thing about Grumman is you'd have to go on the dirt to get to the runway. The area that we're using, Dennis has made up a very nice drawing. We're talking about using the 7,000-foot runway. The rear, and we're talking about approximately 2,500 feet of the 7,000-foot runway. And to just give you an idea of how that would lay out, the rear of the vehicles on the runway, the rear of the vehicles will be facing Grumman. The racetrack itself is 660 feet in length, and the insurance requires that we have double that for the shutdown. So that comes out to be about 2,000 feet, plus the approach to the starting line and then the turnaround. So we're looking at about 2,400 feet, and that is all being utilized at the part of the 7,000-foot runway where the rear of the vehicle is facing Grumman. As far as the spectators go, for this type of event is different from what we would envision on a full-blown drag race. Drag racing will draw a tremendous amount of people. Here, we are looking probably to get, I would expect, with the problem with the illegal street racing, I would expect we would get upwards of 200 competitors. These are the kids that might be racing on the street. I would expect upwards of 200 of them. Now, here's the thing. To watch them all night long for a casual spectator is not the most exciting thing in the world, because it's what's called grudge matches. They might race against their buddy. It would be the run what you brung. So it's not something that's going to draw a lot of people. To give you a number, I'm expecting approximately 1,000 spectators.
Where would they line up in regards to the start line and, for the safety of the spectators?
Okay, excellent question. As I mentioned before, K&K Insurance and Safehold are the two major suppliers of insurance. They have some very strict rules. Number one, we must have the concrete safety barriers like you see on the highway when they're doing construction. All of the improvements that we will be making will be absolutely nothing permanent. It's all temporary. So that means the crash walls, the safety barriers, we must have a 25-foot setback of a chain link fence along the spectator area where the spectators are standing until such time as the track ends, which is the 660 feet. Beyond that, we have to be 50 foot back from the crash wall, again, according to the insurance company specs. What my proposal is, we'll bring the people in, and the spectators will be parking on the taxiway. And also the spectators will be parking on a portion of the concrete area that connects the taxiway to the runway. That's an area that runs along the same direction that Grumman runs. The pit area for the racers is, once they finish up their run going down the track, they finished up the shutdown area, once they make the turn at the end there, we'll have a trailer with all the electronic equipment. They'll get their time slip showing their reaction time, their 60-foot time, their 330-foot time, mile per hour, and elapsed time. But within all that area, going down to where we'll have the spectators, that is all going to be the pit area. The racers will be able to come in that pit area. They'll come down about 400 feet from where the starting line started, and there'll be an opening, and they'll ride along the crash wall and still be separated from the spectators with the chain link fence, and then they'll be able to go and line up for their staging for their next runs.
Pete, if you don't mind, I'm going to have a hard stop for the meeting, because we have someone who has to get off at 11, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of questions.
Great.
So let's just bring this person in very
Great.
quickly, okay?
Sure, thank you.
It's been requested, and I'm going to honor the request, because they have to be off at 11.
Yeah.
And again, there's going to be a lot of questions, and
Okay.
we'll be back with that.
Thank you.
Thank you for understanding.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next. Dawn is going to introduce Barry Long. from Urban Design Associates to discuss matters surrounding the town square. Yeah, I'll take it back.
Good morning. Barry's here today to help us kick off the first public participation meeting, which is tonight at 6 to 7:30 on Zoom. All the Zoom credentials and links are on the town's website under, I think, recent news. What's the headline? Like, is it like recent news or hot topics? It's on the homepage.
It's also on the IDA,
Yes,
the bid, the
yes.
chamber.
So we're circulating it through social media as well, so I'll just, quick links, it's on the quick links section of our homepage. You click on there and you can get right in. I'll let Barry handle the rest of it because he's in charge.
Okay. Good
Thank you,
morning,
Dawn.
Barry.
And we're not really in charge. The town's in charge, and we're working in support of you. But thank you, Dawn. And good morning, Supervisor Aguiar and council members. Very excited to be working on the town square in support of the town. And this morning, I have a very brief presentation for you, and then would like to answer any questions that you have. Brief introduction, project update, and then a time for discussion with the town board. So again, Barry Long with Urban Design Associates. As you know, we're working in support of the town on the creation of concepts for the town square, but importantly, in listening to the town board, stakeholders, and residents in the preparation of those concepts. And I'll get into that in just a minute. So the project update, the site boundary that we're studying, just so that we're all on the same page, and I have a little larger drawing of this too, but in the context of the DC1 district, we're looking at the area right in the middle. That would be McDermott to Main Street, over to the diner, and then down to the Peconic Riverfront. And the property ownership within that area primarily belongs to the town. You're the light blue, you have control of the light blue property. We also have a development application the town has received on 211 East Main, that would be the Munchnick property. Riverview Lofts is within the study area. East End Arts, we're not proposing to redevelop that, but it's within the study area and the town leases that property. Then the Long Island Science Center has acquired 111 East Main and 101 East Main, West Marine, that's also part of the study area. And again, there's a public street next to that, and that's within the study area. So you control all the area in the blue. The proposal for the town square is a subset of that area. So the town has control of 3 buildings in this area that you worked last year during the pandemic to purchase, and we applaud that. We helped you with that in doing some concepts. 2 of them are proposed for demolition right in the middle. The building that houses Crafted is proposed to remain, and the parking lot behind it is a potential redevelopment opportunity that came with that building. And then there's other opportunities for the town, as you've discussed in work sessions before, around the town square area. And we want you to know that as part of the process already, we reached out right away to Mr. Munchnick and his development team, and had a stakeholder meeting with them. And those meetings took place the week of March 15th. We met with the developers of Riverview Lofts. We met with East End Arts. We met with the Long Island Science Center. We met with the developers of the West Marine building. We also met with the owners of the Suffolk Theater, and they have a development proposal behind their building. And that's in addition to representatives from your BIDMA, Chamber of Commerce. We met with Sean McKenna, who's the owner of Crafted, which is the brewery and restaurant that's in the building that you now control, right adjacent to East End Arts. Downtown representatives from Downtown Revitalization Committee. We talked to Joe Petroselli about the synergy between Science Center and the aquarium, and others. So I just want you to know that we're very concerned with our neighbors and making sure that we listen to them too. And we reached out to them first. Some of the buildings you'll recognize, so Crafted, we think this is a wonderful proposal by the town to repurpose that. It has some potential to be better utilized, but it's a very nice older building. The building that was the bike store next door, which is a large format department store, and the building adjacent to that. So this is 117 East Main, are proposed for demolition. Then the Long Island Science Center, 111 East Main, they're proposing to repurpose that property and do an adaptive reuse, which is very exciting, and I'm sure they'll be coming before you to present their plan. And then 101 East Main, West Main, Wayne Steck, the developer, is proposing to demolish that building and redevelop it. The project schedule, we're in our, well, here's the good news. We have a hard deadline in May, so we're moving very quickly. The process got started after the town got far enough along in their process for the acquisition of the buildings that you've been discussing for over a year. So we waited to get started until that process was where it needed to be. But the application deadline for grants is in late May, we believe, this year. So we're working very hard with Dawn and her staff on being prepared to submit grant applications in May of this year, because this is a critically important process and project, and we wanted to move ahead as quickly as possible. So we're listening. Again, we started in mid-March, and we'll be doing that for another couple of weeks. In April, we'll be testing ideas. We'll come back before you in a town board work session to present the emerging concepts. And then in May, we'll need to make a decision, at least enough at a concept level, so that we can submit for grant applications so that we have money to actually execute this project. So it's a very compressed schedule. And as Dawn said, we have a website which was launched on March 22nd, which is dedicated just to this project, the future town square and the connection to the river. And from that site, residents have an opportunity to communicate with us. We'll be having a community meeting this evening. From that site, there's a Zoom link and they can connect to that meeting. We're going to be repeating that meeting in 2 weeks because we know many folks are on vacation this week. Again, that meeting is already advertised on this site. And when we have design concepts, after we've presented them to the town board, we'll be doing the same thing with residents again. We also have a survey that's already on this site, which residents can take and give us input. We have an ideas wall where residents can post ideas. We actually just launched that aspect of the site this week. And then we have interactive mapping where they can go in and see the properties that are involved and actually leave us messages right on the maps about what they'd like to see. So there's many different ways for your residents and your stakeholders to have input. And we're excited about that. And as Dawn said, this is accessed right from the town's homepage. So it's living as a separate website, which we're maintaining for you, but it's accessed from the town's homepage. And with that, I'm sure you have questions. I'd like to open it up for discussion. I will tell you, these are the kind of questions we'll be discussing tonight in our community meeting. And I'll be making a very brief presentation, a little more detailed than what I'm presenting to you today, because you are knowledgeable about this project and also how to use Zoom. You're experts on Zoom. Maybe not everybody will be tonight. So we'll be giving a little bit more information tonight. But we'll be talking about what does the town square mean to you? What kind of atmosphere would you like to see for the town square? What kind of events do you imagine happening here? And what is missing in downtown Riverhead that could line the square? And I will say to that last point too, in parallel with our process, we're working on having a market study done so the town will know what the market potential for building the town square is in attracting new uses to the downtown that don't cannibalize the great uses that you already have. And I will say our scope, you can see the stream of people walking through the parking lot to the river here. We are not presenting design concepts at this point. We don't want to see the conversation. So we've gotten rid of any design concepts. But this is not going to be a pleasant experience if this area isn't reimagined. Stakeholders have already said that, so we will be studying this area too. I thank you and would be happy to answer your questions this morning.
Sure. Barry, first of all, I want to thank you for this update. This is the first of many that will follow. The community will be fully informed. I love the fact that it is so interactive. The second date, I understand, for the meeting is April 15th. What time is that on?
Also 6 to 7:30 p.m.
Okay, so, and again, the community, you can make it today, you'll be able to attend on the 15th. And anybody have any comments?
I just think if I can just add to, this is something that Dawn, a tremendous amount of work that has allowed us to move forward, especially during COVID times. And people may question the financial abilities of how we move forward. There's two blessings with the grants. Number one, they're giving us money, but two, it puts us on a time frame. So when we're discussing these projects, we're not talking about years down the future. We're talking about developing now, and this is a great movement that's taking place. So I encourage the public to let us know thoughts. You know, if you can't attend tonight, please, you know, speak out this, you know, on April 15th if you're not available tonight, because it's happening. It's great. It's like, you know, Riverhead, the vitalization is underway, and thank you so much, Dawn. But that's why I encourage, sometimes people say, well, it's a long time away, and what will it be like? This is now, and so thank you.
And you couple that with the transit-oriented district,
Absolutely.
right? So you have two projects working simultaneously and interacting with each other, and it's,
On the TOD RFP.
you already have received many requests? Isn't that, if finally,
Many capable, competent development companies and engineering firms, so we're pretty excited about that.
we had a press release last Friday, and it was extremely well-attended from all levels of government, from the state and the county, and people from the Economic Development Agency, which are the ones that are going to be approving our grants, and they were very excited. It was a well-attended, and it's all a good start. It's all coming together finally.
Hi, good morning, Barry.
Good morning.
How are you?
Wonderful today.
So I'm proud to say that I brought you to town with the work from the pattern book, and the town square is picking back off of the pattern book work. When we did the pattern book, one thing we talked about in the community was that was one way to show that we were willing as a town to make an investment in our own downtown. And I think that again, with this project, we are showing that with the town square project, we are showing developers or, you know, people that want to invest in Riverhead that we are also willing to make an investment in our town as well. I am pleased that you added the second listening session. You guys are always great about making this a very community-driven thing, which it should be. So I'm pleased that you have a schedule that you're sticking to, all good news. One thing I know you're probably going to address, but this does come up in the community, so I just want to put it out there. When you're doing the design, I would assume you're certainly going to take into account the flooding that we have down there. Can you just address that for a minute?
Absolutely. I mean, we know at the town's initiative and your lead and the town board's leadership that you're already working with the Army Corps, and that process is going to take longer. One of the things, though, I will say that we're looking at right away is creating the base elevation of the town square to match Main Street, so it'll be elevated above. One of the challenges that there's going to be a lot of discussion about is this area between the town square and the river, and what elevation should that be at? How should it be designed? What uses should go there? What about the critical need to accommodate parking? And how does it all get balanced out? And we will come back to you with recommendations on that. But we have some preliminary thoughts already about addressing the flooding issues. But I don't want to, again, get out in front of residents and the stakeholders until we've heard from everybody. I will say that so far, on the response we've received on the website and from residents and also from the stakeholders we met with. Everything has been extremely positive related to this. The Science Center is thrilled to be moving to this location. They acquired that property without the town square being a done deal next door. It's I think, a happy accident, but it means that you're going to have a very young demographic as part of the users here. I think we all know that, because this Science Center will accommodate a lot more folks, and their primary demographic is a younger demographic. So we have to think about how circulation and loading and entertaining young folks works. But we really see this as a place for everyone, and we're just really excited about it. But yes, Catherine, we'll give you comments on flooding.
Yes, and maybe it's a good time to update the public on what's going on with the flood management plan. In January, we reviewed the flooding, actually my office did, with the town board, and we realized that we needed to get the Army Corps of Engineers. These are the individuals who shore our shorelines, and they're very, very effective. They're engineers, and whenever you have flood disaster, they put them in. They're military teams, and they put them in to address the flooding, to secure the shorelines and the communities. And we put an effort together. We requested from our congressman to assist us with this. This was a year ago, February, and he immediately brought it to Washington. He hand-delivered the letter to Washington, and we started the process in April. We had a virtual meeting with the Army Corps of Engineers, and then Dawn Thomas is now taking the lead, because it's part of, it's a related item, and it had to be addressed. It was never addressed before. And the Army Corps of Engineers is well into the project. We have received funding at a cost of how much, Dawn? $151,000. You want to come up and speak? And we do have, they are creating a flood management plan, and now we are connecting them with Barry.
Yeah, so the Army Corps is engaged after discussions with the town in a floodplain management study. That's a preliminary or pre-engineering type of study, which will give us, after evaluating a tremendous amount of data and taking historical input from rainfall and hydronics and hydraulics, putting that together, and give, based on what the town envisions doing in that area, options for design for flood control. So it may be a combination of hard solutions or soft solutions, so directing water and containing water, or it could be barriers. There's multiple different things. What they're doing is really off the hook, in my opinion. The amount of information they have collected and what they do is really amazing. And the total cost of the study, I think, is $150,000. The town is contributing 25% of that, and that's coming from grant money, the 25% contribution. So it really has been great, and I expect we should be getting back with them shortly to pick it up. I think they've done most of their data collection, and we're going to start in earnest working on that pre-design process.
So that's another grant for Riverhead under a pandemic. And in addition, we have to wait for the flood management plan to be developed. It is an extensive process, and thereafter we can apply for funding. Quite often, you want to discuss the funding component?
Don't go far, Dawn.
Just to give you that, the Army Corps potentially could fund the construction of that project. Whether or not that happens, I'm not sure, but nevertheless, whatever they give us at the end of this process will be pre-designed, which will allow us to apply for grant money to get design and construction of whatever flood control implement they are suggesting.
And that's another effort that's well underway.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yes, well underway, and it's exciting, and all those who worked on that outside of this office and supported this effort, it was critical. And it also serves as leverage for grants, because they know we are addressing the flooding. And I remember speaking to you in February, and we said this is great leverage, and we have used it when we applied for grants, that leverage. Great. Anyone?
So just a couple more things. So certainly as a teacher, I love the idea of having the science center sort of at one end and the aquarium at the other end, and I think that will help define us in a more unique way in our downtown area, because as we gathered all the information from the community in the pattern book, although people will talk about Patchogue, we want to be unique in Riverhead in that we want to be more of a family-oriented downtown area. That's something that the bid talks about as well. And those drive us in the right direction, so I'm excited about that. One big concern that always comes up for the downtown area and all that we've done is the safety issue. I think that's always been a concern. I did like that one of your pictures had one of our sector cars driving by, but, good move, Barry. But I think that, you know, one thing Dawn talks about, one thing that we all have discussed is that when you do bring people into an area, that helps with the safety concerns, but that's something that we have to keep in mind. I do implore everybody in our community to weigh in on the survey or in these, to come tonight. If not, come the next session. It's great that you accommodated people with that second session. Because this is a community-driven thing. This downtown belongs to everybody. This is your gathering place. This is where the people from all the different hamlets should be able to come and gather. So we really need to hear from you. We need to hear your voice. And lastly, I would like to say thank you to Dawn for keeping things moving along.
Well, that's because the board's backing us up, so thank you.
Barry, I just wanted to say, if this makes any sense, I've never been more proud to be so wrong about a topic. In the beginning, as you know, I wasn't in favor of the town spending the money for the pattern book. But the outcome is way more than I ever envisioned, and I'm really proud to be very wrong on this topic, because this is the best for the town. It really, what's coming out of this is putting Riverhead on the map. We've been on the map for other reasons not so good in the years past. This is gonna change that tremendously. Tied into the TOD down on the railroad station, Riverhead is on the run here. People, get on the train, because it's leaving the station, that's all I'm telling you.
And thank
I
you.
really appreciate Catherine's work with this, and my former board members who had the insight to vote for this also when I didn't. So I appreciate it, and again, thank you very much, Barry.
Well, thank you very much. And I will, too, compliment the town board. It's never just one thing. You're doing many things simultaneously, but I do think the Town Square initiative has the potential to be transformative and a real catalyst. And there is a unique thing emerging with this arts and science theme with the Long Island Science Center, and then you have Center for the Arts on town property, you know, directly adjacent on the other side. There are a lot of things from a differentiation standpoint that you have that you don't have fully developed today that you're going to be able to leverage in the future. And I think this will, you're already on the map, but I think this is going to put a big star on top of that.
Hi, Barry, it's Frank. I just wanted to say I'm really happy that you reached out to the neighbors. I think they're a great source of not only information and input, but they made an investment in our town already, so they have put their heart and soul into our town, and I think that working with them is the best thing that you could do, or we could do. The other thing I would like to say is that I spent a lot of time as a kid in places like Rockefeller Center and Central Park, and this, to me, this project is very akin to those places where people can come and congregate and spend time, and I think this is a wonderful idea, and I just want to say that I'm proud of the whole effort.
So, I agree with Frank. I think it's great that you talk to the others, and hopefully they'll look to the pattern book when they're thinking about design. And I do appreciate your words as well, Tim. I think that, I think we have all seen that we got a quality product out of you guys in the pattern book, and excited to be moving along.
I'll just say, with the flooding, the Army Corps of Engineers, it's great that we reach out to them, they're doing it. But the design right now for the initial square footage of the town square, as well as, I did meet with the Long Island Science Center as well, they're putting their precautions in for flooding measures as well, so that this project keeps moving forward, that we're not holding off on the actual town square footage area, you know, for the development of, through the Army Corps of Engineers. So they're really two separate projects, so this keeps moving forward.
And we're working directly with Dawn on this project. We were working with planning on the pattern book. So the Army Corps is one of our stakeholders, and we'll be meeting with them directly before we come back to you with recommendations.
Okay. So we established Army Corps is very important in this project. We know
Yes, we
that.
did.
And-
Unfortunately,
and-
but fortunately, we have them. So thank you for getting that started last year because they're important.
Yeah, we did, and I remember meeting with you last year, and I don't think you ever believed that this project would have taken this turn for the positive, but I gave you 10 points to put in, and I'm happy to hear that they've all been incorporated, including the Army Corps of Engineer. So thank you on that end.
Fantastic. But we're real excited, and I'll just close by saying we're excited about the town square, but this connection to the river and the opportunity to better activate the riverfront is unique too, and we think we can do that. Joe Petroselli was talking about the activation of the riverfront that they've done down behind the aquarium and how successful that's done, but he doesn't feel that activating the riverfront would in any way compete, that there's a lot of opportunities to do more. And we're really excited about that whole connection between Main Street and the river.
Well, thank you. I know you have to,
Yes, I have another public meeting at 11 this morning, and I'll let you get back to your drag strip. But
thank you and happy holidays, Barry.
But Barry, I think I can set up a race for you with Grumpy Ayala.
All right, be safe.
you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
And
Bye-bye.
Pete, thank you. We're back to the topic.
Right.
Supervisor, let me just say one thing. When you asked me about the traffic concerns, which I can appreciate that, I just want to bring out that when we will be active is not midweek. It's not rush hour. We're talking about weekend events. So, so I think maybe that would ease some folks' minds as far as traffic concerns.
Well, I foresee that, and that's why I asked the question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Great.
so
I
thank
have
you.
a couple of questions.
Yes.
What is the fee you would charge, or roughly an idea for a fee for somebody to bring their car and race it there?
To bring their car to race, it's $35. You run as many runs as you can run, and after each of the runs, you get this time slip that I'm talking about, which really is gold. I mean, it's when you see them look at the slip, and that's all part of the fun of operating. In other words, you're not just going down the track, hey, I won, you lost, or whatever. It is time slip. We also will be giving out awards, trophies, depending on the class that you entered. And the good thing about that is you'll tell us how fast you're going to go, and if you go faster than what you said, we have the electronic time equipment, you're disqualified. So the answer to that is it would be $35, as many runs as you could get. That's your total cost for the night.
So it's available to get some of the street racers off the street because it is not expensive to do this.
No, sir,
If you were
that's,
charging $500 to enter, you wouldn't solve the problem for racing on the street because it would be too expensive.
correct. That is the focus here. And again, I could talk about, well, this might work, et cetera. I've proven it. I did it in Miami. Just to give you an idea of how important this is, NASCAR has now taken some of their racetracks, and I'll talk about Homestead, and they're doing Friday night drag racing. They're getting hundreds of competitors to go out to these events, and that's at a NASCAR track. What they do is they utilize the pit area for the actual running of the track. I don't know if they're quite 1/8 mile long, which really isn't important. The focus is to get the kids off the streets. It's the other thing about the police officers. When they get these kids all over the country, especially out here in Long Island, the officers will be arresting them or whatever it might be, and invariably what the kids are going to say, I have nowhere to go. There's no more racetracks out here. with us being operating, the police officer can say, no, you're wrong. You've got a place, it's right down the road, safe, controlled. We'll have fire rescue, we'll have EMT paramedics there. We have the crash walls. Everything is built according to insurance specs, so it is a safe environment to come out and do your thing.
On the safety factor also, are they required to wear helmets? And do these cars have roll bars or crash cages?
No.
Fire suits?
No, and the reason for that is a great question. If it was a, quote, drag strip, which we're not, but if it was full drag strip, no, sir. What we will also have is we're going to have a requirement in that no vehicle can go faster than 115 miles per hour. No vehicle can run quicker than 6 seconds. Now, remember, we're on a 650-foot drag strip. It's not a big distance.
Yeah.
So, again, the answer is, if it's a convertible, yes, they must have a helmet. But otherwise, they're not going to be required to have a helmet. Crash, roll bars, no. And again, mainly it is to get the kids off the street. One other point, you know, years ago when you did have West Hampton and you had National Speedway and you had Islip and then there was a little track at Roosevelt Field, back in those days, my days, Dennis's days, we couldn't build a car just about as fast as what you can go to the showroom now and buy a car. The Dodge Demon is frightfully fast. I mean, the Camaros, the Mustangs, even, believe it or not, the Tesla is a tremendously fast acceleration car. So again, our focus is we're going to have this to get the kids off the streets.
Well, the concern is because you're dealing with amateur drivers. I mean, young kids think they are, you know, bet and bound to be an Indy 500 racer or a professional drag racer, but they really don't have the experience. So if it's a shorter track and you're limiting the speed, that also helps me understand a little better and care a little bit about the safety factor. What about crashes? What's your experience with crashes in terms of, like the track in Florida that you have? Have you had a lot of crashes?
Oh, yeah.
or
Well,
any
I had a
fatalities?
track in Tennessee, Kentucky, and 2 in Florida, Miami and the one just outside of Jacksonville, Green Cove Dragway. Yes, you're going to have crashes. I didn't want to bring a whole bunch of video that I have, but we have one of our track at County Line where the local news station came out and they were doing a video and a Mustang slid and he went into the wall. No problem at all. Again, you're not talking about a lot of speed, but even the commentator said, wow, I see what this is all about. If that happened on the street, it could have been, you know, terrible. It happened there, controlled. Again, if there is an accident, we do have trained fire rescue personnel, the ambulance, they are there on site. I'm happy to say in all my experience of racing, at 4 racetracks, I've never had somebody that had any serious injuries.
Excellent.
So
Thank
I
you
have
very much.
Sorry, Tim.
Yes, sir.
So I have a few questions. You're using the runway, or you're using the runway as is? Because I'm told the runway is not in great condition.
We are, great question. We are using the runway as is, and I'll answer that by saying, if we were talking about doing events such as what Dennis has, or John Montecalvo, which he's a world champion pro mod racer, no, we could not handle that. For what we're doing, it is in excellent shape for us to be able to do the street type vehicles that we're going to have out there.
It's got grass and plants growing out of it, I think.
Oh, that'd be no problem at all for us.
So obviously in Riverhead, a lot of us know that there are a lot of people that go down south for drag racing. There's a big group in Riverhead that love drag strip racing. I don't know that this is the kind of drag strip racing they go to, but you know, there's some concerns and things to think about with something like this. For example, I'm a little concerned of that proximity to the Beconic Health Care Facility, which is, you know, we have a rehab facility and research facility that's there that's fairly close, and that would be the noise. You know, the noise, of course, is a concern to think about. And I just would like to call the chief up, since you happen to be here. Our police chief is here, and if you don't mind, I'd just like to ask if there is a problem in Riverhead with people doing drag racing in town. I know that when I was in high school, They used to race over on Horton Avenue. Remember that?
I know there's plenty of markings in the street on 105.
Right.
I can tell
I'm
you
just
that.
wondering,
Including the
because you do.
runways at EPCAL.
Well, we do talk about crime statistics, and I just wondered if you are familiar whether that's a concern. Can you come to the mic?
Things haven't changed that much, Councilwoman. It's still a issue, drag racing in the town, and there's several different locations where it occurs. I don't have stats with me to let you know how often that happens, but it is still occurring.
So it's occurring, but you don't know that it's a major issue, or you'd have,
I would say at times it becomes a major issue.
okay.
Especially in the summer.
Right.
And that's common across the whole United States.
For some reason, they'll pick a location and then they'll just start hitting that several times, and then we get complaints on it, and we go out there and take care of it. So.
And after you address the issue, they move to another location. And it's a cat and mouse thing, and I'm fully aware of it, it's not going away.
Pete, I'll tell you this, I've seen the chief drive, I would put him up against Officer Ayala anytime.
Hey, it's only $35,
That's right, that's right.
By the way, I was surprised how fast he drives. I'm just wondering what you think about this whole thing, because it does involve police officers. Obviously not on duty, but
I'm not familiar with what's taking
whole
place.
concept.
My major concern at the site is security. It's a big site, a big open site, so locking that down is something we have to think about.
And that's going to be addressed in the 255 application that you will review and I will review, and then it gets sent to the board. So everybody will have time to chime into it. It is a process. This is a work session to discuss, and they obviously have to submit the application, and it's a very, very lengthy application. And of course, he has to provide all types of insurances in case people are hurt, there's damage done to the property. And so this is possibly the beginning of the application, and if it gets submitted, it's going to be reviewed.
so
fully.
you're saying security. Are there any other issues that you want to make sure that we look at or that are addressed? Or, I mean, you didn't hear the whole thing, but you heard a good portion of it.
Right.
And certainly this is something under your purview, so I'm wondering anything else
Yeah,
you
no,
want to bring up?
I think that's my major concern right now, would be securing the site, since it is wide open.
And there will be other questions, and
Right,
we'll
I'm
discuss
sure.
it
Right.
when you get the
I
application.
mean, yeah, no, so let's go down from that traffic, getting people in and out of the site, things like that.
Great. Well, we'll
I mean, we
safety
had that
and-
when we had the air show there, Tim was up there for that. I mean, it was a lot of traffic, so.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
not going to be the case here by
Right, I
any
don't know
means.
that this would generate that much traffic, but it was an issue, so.
And safety too, I would want to talk about safety. I mean, I'm not really that familiar with racing, but I don't really understand why you wouldn't wear helmets. When I was watching the video, I was thinking, it looks like people are driving off without helmets. I mean, you even wear a helmet to ride on a bicycle on a short jaunt, so why is it they don't wear helmets?
Can I answer that question? They do. It's not a rule for those type of cars, but certainly common sense dictates.
I can't hear
Yeah,
you.
you have to come to the mic.
Yeah,
So-
they are
sorry.
indicating they can't hear you. Can you please step forward?
Sure.
Thank you.
The type of cars that are going to be racing, proposed to be racing at the place that we're talking about, are really street cars. These guys are racing on the street, not wearing a helmet if they wish, because there's no rules for it. If we start to implement too many rules, they're just not going to come. But common sense says, and my years of experience of doing this, is that anybody that's racing is going to be wearing a helmet. Helmets are available. Helmets can be worn. But we're not pushing the issue, because they could just as easily go across the street and race where they were racing before and not be bothered with it. So if that answers the question.
And it's a very short length, right? 650 feet?
It's 660 feet, which is 1/8 of a mile of
It's
acceleration.
an eighth of a mile that we're
1/8
talking
of a
about.
mile, okay.
So they're
and
not going to have much time to accelerate to the car's full
Bob's
potential
saying-
by
Bob,
any means,
I
correct?
wanna ask-
The average time for the car to be accelerating is in the neighborhood of about 7 seconds. some a little bit faster, some a little bit slower.
Sure.
But in the type of race cars that Pete's proposing to bring out there, they're basically the same kind of cars that you're driving to work in. Obviously, a little more higher performance, like the Mustang Camaro type of crowd, but they don't have the room to get as fast as the kind of cars that I drive or that other guys drive. So it's not a great safety issue, but it's a common sense issue.
Yeah.
So most of the guys that know that, if they know they're going to be in a secure place with guardrails on both sides, as Pete's talked about, there's a safety factor in that alone because they feel more secure in what they're doing, okay? Knowing that they're surrounded by other racers or other people involved in the sport that are wearing helmets and that have their seatbelts on and possibly other safety equipment in the car, there's more opportunity for them to be prone to doing that too. So our
Okay.
experience has shown it's never been a problem.
All right.
I'm sorry that we kind of overstress the idea of not wearing helmets. It's very rare that you'll see somebody not wearing a
Yeah,
helmet.
well, they weren't wearing them in the video. I do think it's really strange. Bob, just wanted to ask you, I know they're going to be getting insurance and such, just want to ask you liability-wise.
Yeah,
because
well, as I
well,
mentioned,
I just wanted to bring up our town attorney real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, but that's gonna be in the application, and then we're gonna review
No,
it
just
with
real
them.
quick, I'm only
Yeah, we're
asking
gonna
a little
review
bit.
that with the town attorney.
I
We
understand
don't have an
that.
application yet.
Okay.
So, we have to make sure that it can even go forward.
Yeah, obviously, you're going to look for
Right.
an adequate amount of insurance. I would obviously reach out to Gallagher Bassett, our broker, and get input from them. I know there's been a lot said, and I was fortunate enough to convince this board a few years back to do a special event called the Fastest Car, where 4 cars lined up at the 7,000-foot runway, and it was part of a Netflix show. When you're on the Spine Road, which is the middle of the property, you can't see the cars or hear the cars from that distance. And that was from the experience I had when I was out there that day. You know, I know that Mr. Scalzo has been here before. I'm familiar with his facility because I was asked to vet it in the past, and what he's said was borne out by the people I spoke to down in Florida. Certainly the insurance aspect, we're going to make sure that it's adequate insurance. The barriers that he's talked about would be required. And I'll close off by saying that as a young man, there was no location that was a regular raceway. The cars used to parade by our house. We'd jump on our bikes. We would go line up in a spot that was safe. And those guys didn't wear helmets either.
I have one quick question. What would the admission fee for a spectator be? Because I think this is something that a lot of the locals would love to come out and see.
sure, it would be adults is $15, kids 10 and under are free.
And concessions and,
Okay, good. Concessions, I've always said I'm not in the food and beverage
No, I got
business.
it.
So what I would have is I would invite licensed food vendors to come out to sell food and beverage. No alcohol. I'm dead set against
That
having
was
alcohol
my
there.
follow-up.
And then I've done it in the past, for each event, I'd like to invite a local nonprofit charity to come out and do fundraising, of course, at no cost to them. In addition, as far as the safety factors, as far as the vehicles, every vehicle when they come in will have to go through an inspection. What we're inspecting is tires, making sure they're all safe tires, all the lugs are in the wheels, no cracked windshield. We'll check the seat belts, make sure that they're not frayed seat belts. The fact that they're not real race cars, we're not into the special regulations for special safety belts, but they are also very important, battery tie down. You'd be amazed that some of the people just lay a battery in there, and God forbid there is an accident, the battery goes flying. So every vehicle that runs will go through a tech inspection.
Bob, was that event, the one that you were talking about?
It was
beforehand?
just it was a show. It was
Oh, okay.
it was a TV series that was shown on Netflix.
Okay.
What it was, the concept was 4 homemade cars raced a supercar, a Lamborghini or God, I can't think now of the other ones, but basically the 4 lined up and they wanted to see whether a homemade car I think in one instance, it was like a 70 Chevy C10 pickup that a guy had tricked out, could take on a Lamborghini. The one that took place at Calverton, it was a silver Lamborghini, if I remember, owned by an attorney who was a matrimonial attorney, and he jumped. So he was disqualified.
Were there people there, were there racers from Riverhead, or they were?
No, they were from all over the region. I think there was one guy who came from Connecticut, who had a little tiny, like Datsun that he had modified. Another was a gentleman from Long Island with a Camaro, and the other one was a pickup. I think he came from New Jersey. And then, as I said, the attorney had the chromed Lamborghini.
Can I just add
Typical
to
attorney, Bob.
to the fact that when we got your initial inquiry, and so I did a lot of homework myself, I had made a list of questions, and I'm going to tell you that you've answered everything, but the biggest concern, of course, is safety is the #1 factor. I think you're addressing it. The insurance company, and be certain that you're doing, is the same insurance company that has outlined and provided insurance for other events, and you're not searching for different insurance companies.
No.
They're actually telling you, these are the parameters that you must meet in order for us to insure you for this event. So they're setting a list of requirements for you, which obviously are all guided around safety.
Yes.
They don't want an issue, so I think that's great, and they've done these, the insurance company that you tend to use for this event has done other events, so they provide these parameters for you, right?
Both companies, as I mentioned, K&K and Safehold, they are the major insurers of motorsports, and they both insure
NASCAR?
No, NHRA.
NHRA?
Yeah, NHRA and also the IHRA.
But their parameters become a watchdog for what you're doing.
Absolutely,
before
and
you
we
even
will
start.
have to comply with all of their regulations.
Divider walls, that was, absolute, and they're between two separate cars as well?
No.
No, the two cars inside the divider.
Inside. And just to give you another perspective, the actual racetrack itself is a total of 50 feet wide.
Yep. So to address one of the concerns Catherine made, I did walk the runway yesterday. It's in very good shape, actually, so I was actually pretty impressed, so.
I actually drove it.
Yeah.
Were you practicing?
And
So I think, I think it's a viable option there.
Right.
You talked about standby, you have medical staff, EMTs, paramedics on site, so if there is any type, you have immediate response, right? So there is no delay in response, so they're present. And I imagine that they, as well as our police department that would be present just for orderly, are reimbursed, so it's not really, right? Typically what our special events permits is a reimbursement for any police present as well, in addition to the application fee, so. And this is a limited time frame, right? So
Yes, sir.
This
It
is
would
not
be,
a long-term event, you're looking to hold one event right now to see how it progresses, right?
Oh, I thought it was 7. I thought you
7
said
weekends.
Yes,
You
but-
said 7 weekends,
Two
2
events.
events, so 14 total.
Correct.
But I think as the supervisor said, this is not, we're not opening up a permit drag
This is
strip.
a
This is
special
for a special
application.
events
Yes.
application for maybe a series of races, but then it concludes.
And if I might add, most of the people, when they talk about drag racing, and I know we shouldn't keep using the word drag racing, but typically they talk about a quarter mile. Usually, it's a quarter mile. Well, this is not. It's an 1/8 mile. And even if all of my other racetracks have been 1/8 miles, because it does keep the speed down. The quarter miles is for the big boys like Dennis and John Montecalvo, but this is the 1/8 mile, and again, as you said, Supervisor, 660 feet. You're not going to be going that fast.
So from what I gather, there's no cost to the town.
No.
We're going to be fully insured. It's going to be vetted by our attorney. Police chief gets the application, myself and him, and he will review the application. And we don't even have an application yet, so this is just a work session to have a discussion. There's going to be a lot of questions. I think a lot of them were answered today. And when do you anticipate submitting the application?
The only help that I need is, I don't know if maybe Don, or I mentioned when I came a few weeks back, there's a few questions as far as if it's in a flood zone and different things that I don't have the
The town
answer.
can provide that for you. That's.
Who's that, ma'am?
The town can provide that. You
Right.
can contact the clerk's office.
Once
or
that's
Dawn.
done, then I'm prepared to complete it and give you, because according to the application, we would be going for the application fee, which is $650 per event. So multiply times the 14. I'll submit that, those monies, $9,100, along with the application. What we have not discussed yet, which I'll fill out the application, is what the rental fee will be per event.
That's a matter of, that goes to our legal department.
Yes.
That is a CDA effort.
Yes.
And they'll discuss that with our town attorney, and that's something that you guys have to work.
Great.
And then it goes before the board.
Great.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Dennis and Pete, and don't race out of here, okay?
No, not me, I'm an old man. Thank you again.
Be safe.
For your time, yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Dawn.
You run what you brung.
Next, we have Dan Sullivan to discuss matters surrounding possible battery energy storage system. Dan, can you please come forward? Good morning.
Morning, how are you? Just some information that I want to pass it out or no. It's, each one is to kind of
Morning, sir.
express.
Dan, I might read fast, but not that fast.
That's, yeah, well, it's just to provide, kind of, hopefully provide every answer. If you actually want to go down that road, there's a great source, it's there. I've just picked out a few pieces and attached them to that email.
If anybody wants to see them.
Yeah, but in general, this paperwork that I've created in a Word document that was sent
Okay.
should address all the matters.
And we have it, and
Yeah,
it's,
and it
and it's
really, it's a
posted
good
on the
read-through.
website?
Yes, boom,
Okay.
boom, boom,
This
boom,
is
boom,
like
right through, and then
200
the additional paperwork that I gave is a
Okay.
government third party, and that again, frequently asked questions. And it really,
We'll say you've been very thorough prior to
this is
your
interesting, right?
presentation.
It's very interesting, and it's not
Yes.
common knowledge, but it's becoming a part of society, and I think it needs to be addressed
Yep.
from every angle.
Great, and welcome.
And that's where it is. So battery energy storage is a rechargeable battery system that manufactures and stores energy on the electrical grid. Okay, now the electrical grid, I'd like you to look at it as, say, a superhighway. And that superhighway has to keep flowing. It has to be balanced. How do you keep it balanced? With everything being reinvented in this world? Battery energy storage. It meets the needs of the electrical grid to supply power to your constituents, to the world in general. Battery energy storage is something that is not new, it's relatively new, but it now works. Works on the technology, financials, things of that nature. And of course, there are rules that are created that now allow for it. It's in the world, it's in New York State, it's in your neighboring towns. And I've addressed that matter there. What does it do? What are the applications? Again, in a general sense, it stores energy, how that energy is then dissipated, how it helps maintain that overall balance. There's some additional points that you look at and we address from a concern of the town. How big are these? What are the safety concerns? How much land is it going to take up? Where do you site them? What does it look like? All of those have been addressed in this paperwork. And I think you'll be relieved to know that maybe your biggest one would be 3 to 4 acres. And then there are smaller ones that I'm working on, which are footprints 10,000 square feet. Obviously, these go through a interconnection process. So it's not that you put it on the ground and it starts tomorrow. There's a process called interconnection with LIPA. And what they do is that superhighway we talked about, they run the system. They make sure this is going to work. This isn't just, this becomes really part of the grid. It's the grid. So it's not, we're very well vetted. It is a long process. It is an expensive process with LIPA. But that's what they do. So nothing is cited until you get the okay, right? LIPA says it is going to work. It is being part of the grid. Then then you bring it in, cite it. It's connected to the grid, through power or the transmission lines, and runs through the substations and through the grid. Just moving forward to address certain issues. What's inside? It looks like a Casone shipping container, right? Big shipping containers, I would say, if you were to put a height limit on what you'd want to do, depending on, obviously, flood and the rest, about 15 feet. But really, it's about 8 to 10 feet, the shipping container, depending on the vents for AC, maybe 12 feet. So, it'll be situated on either a permeable or impermeable surface, depending on, what suits the developer. I provided third-party literature. I do want to point out that NYSERDA is a tremendous assistance to this process. They not only will help with the siting itself, they'll help with the code. They've provided a lot of information and have really made it quite easy. It's a great source, and there are gentlemen that work on and women that work on smaller scale, larger scale, and they'll deal with the town. Literally, how does this work? What are we doing in the process? So this is a great part. Safety has been addressed. Environmental recycling. In terms of recycling, New York State itself is opening up 2 recycling plants for this. So between 80 to 100% of these will be recycled. The average battery will sit on the ground. The smaller ones, for let's say utilized in a different way, would probably be 15 years cited, and then address that. There are larger ones which address more of the transmission, the grid itself, making sure the grid works. And those could be there, 30, 40, 50 years. Think of it as just another substation. Now, to get to matters in Riverhead, you have a code that obviously an existing code. There's a way to look at it, and that's what I'm asking for. I've identified sites that we'd like to utilize in Riverhead, understand the process. It's taking place on Long Island, and it already is established. You have an existing code that says a public utility. At 301-225B, public utility buildings and structures shall be permitted in all districts approved by special permit of the town board. If you view it as, you can decide to utilize that aspect of the code and implement this into it. Otherwise, you can create a code, and which I've supplied here is it's pretty thorough, and I think obviously you need to adapt it into your concerns of the town, but it states, it's a code. It should work for the town, and then you have to make adjustments here and there.
Dan, are these generally put in the area of solar farms?
It can be if you wanted to as a microgrid, but not technically, no. Anything that I'm working on currently would be away from the solar, but I wouldn't say no. You put it together, it's a microgrid. So you're producing the power, you're saving it, and it's going back out. It's kind of a smart addition to it. Again, there's a very small part of it. We do have a process going on in Southold at their landfill where we will have solar and we'll have batteries there. So it's sort of keeps the power and allows it, emergency response, things of that nature, which will be addressed. But in general, it doesn't need to. It needs to meet certain logistics, engineering for the, to get to the grid, three-phase transmission wires, things of that nature, and to be in a certain distance to the substation that's being utilized. Again, the substation has to have the capacity to, be utilized, and that's all vetted by the developers. Again, these are sited, they are bonded. It's getting off the ground. It's not going on if it's not going to be utilized, and it's getting out of there no matter what.
Dan, can you give us some examples on usage?
On usage, sure. We can go back to that. On the first page, it's peak shaving. Stored energy during peak times, right? Reduce the demand charges, right? So it's just cheaper energy put out.
But where? Give us an example. Backup power supply for a hospital.
That would be a smaller battery. So when you look at batteries,
give us some examples of where you can.
East Hampton, Cove Hollow. When all the people come out to the Hamptons during summer population, they turn that on. There's one in Montauk as well. There are going to be all throughout. Your towns out here, let's just call it the 5 towns. Brookhaven has a code. Southampton has a code. East Hampton allows it through public utility. Southold's debating public utility or a code, and now I'm here in Riverhead. So it is already created, and it's supplying the power to go out. A lot of it is taking place right now.
So for example, this can store the power in the evenings when it's in less in demand in the summertime, whatever, and then could it add it to the grid in a higher demand, like ACs during the high noon of the day, and then put it into the grid when there's a heavy draw on it, and then in the evenings store it.
100% correct. Yes, that's what it would do. That's what it provides.
Now, would it go to just our town, or?
It's the grid. At the end of the day, when you're producing power, it would, help the grid in this town. Obviously, the next town will have their battery energy storage.
But let's say another town is.
It's all work. That interconnection.
Busier and running it, they could be.
Technically drawing from it, sure. It's, once it goes into the grid, there's really no way to trace where it's going to, in that sense.
And let's say there's we have an event and we're out of power for a while. How long could it?
Technology right now, they are working on long duration. So this technology is really about 4 hour, that it shoots out for. 4 hours, probably about 4 megawatts, something of that nature. But it's not long duration. So in terms of power goes out in Brookhaven, you know, one of the lines, all transmission lines, just for heaven forbid, goes out, no, it will not supply long duration for 2-3 days at a time.
But if something needed to be closed
Without a
down
doubt,
for
it
tree
can help.
removals and remove lines off the streets, this could maintain a period
Yes.
out to do construction work or removal and things of that
Correct.
nature, so helping us during a catastrophe.
Correct, it helps, you know, and balancing that grid, right? And the grid's antiquated, and everything that's changing in society, whether it's electrical, heating, EV, electrical vehicles, more population out here, you need to meet the demand, just on a strict thing. And this allows for it. It's a cheaper way to do it than to build another substation and go that way. And this should be adopted. You know, that's the way it's, I'd like it to be, but that's, you know, that's what's been taking place. It's very well thought out, very well vetted. And I would, you know, I did send that email. I know it's lengthy, but to read to, especially the Word document, really kind of addresses every matter: safety, recycling, environmental, the footprint, where they go. Listen, we're not going to put them on the village green. We understand that. You guys can control that by code and by special exception. They're going in the back of industrial lots. They can be met right now from what the demand is needed. You can put it on your industrial lots. Some of them are bigger than others, but you don't need to put it on the riverfront or the, you know, no, it doesn't need to happen.
And actually, when you came and talked to the environmental committee, that was just what we were just concerned about, the siting. There was just a matter of where they would go. So when there is pushback or concerns for a community, what generally are the concerns that
Safety.
are brought up?
Fire. Well, you have to realize that when most people, you know, they do the drive-by and they read something, ooh, it's a great concern. Of course, safety is a concern. These are self-contained units with suppression system in itself. We have contacted the Riverhead Fire Department. We will stay in contact with them. NYSERDA information in here. They show you the steps. They supply seminars. They tell you how to meet, you know, this in a safety response.
So they outline training for the fire department.
Outline training, yes, and that's been done. So, but you have to remember when somebody comes up, what type of battery are we talking about? Are we putting it in a car that's 80 miles per hour and it's small and it hits another and then there's a fire? Because that's a battery fire. It's different. This could conceptually go on fire. Nominal. I've actually done studies. You can't really find, you know, there's really no stats in it. So you have to realize what type of batteries someone is talking about. They're being put in homes, obviously in sort of like its own little microgrid. They are in homes. That's being established. They're in cars. And this is the same technology, just on a grander scale, saving, you know, providing a different service to the community.
So did you do a presentation to the Riverhead Fire Department?
Not yet, nope. We've, you know, sort of a chicken or the egg, you know, but we need to know that we're going that fast, and I can easily have a developer come in, and NYSERDA would come down and
I
you know,
think,
talk to anybody. So it's third
Ken, are
party
you
and it's
working on
government.
this?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
Ken
sir.
is working on this project.
What was that?
Ken
Yeah.
is working on this project with him, and that's the steps that you know, you need to take. He's a firefighter, so he's fully aware, he's the appropriate person to understand code and any issues
Oh, that's
concerning
welcome, yeah.
fire suppression.
Ian Latimer from
So-
NYSERDA is great. You know, they've been helping, you know, throughout the state.
And I know,
We'll work with through the Suffolk County.
Yeah,
Fire
and some of the
Academy,
problems, just,
and
you
then-
know, not a problem, but when you deal with an entity that created a code or a system for the state, then you gotta localize it, and that will happen. That's easy. That's easy enough.
So yes, it's obviously helpful that Ken has a background in the fire department, and I would be interested, you know, I don't think it's a bad idea to do a presentation to the Riverhead Fire Department. I'd be interested to hear what they had to say.
Sure. That will be addressed. You know, we're at the point now where we've been in the town. You know, I've been running along on this for a while. Obviously, there's been a lot in the past year that's taken place, and I believe it needs to be addressed, and I would like to see code. It has been in all surrounding towns. We wouldn't be the first.
well, Ken
It would be, it is discussed like through like the Suffolk County Fire Academy trains like all towns within Suffolk County. And so it is a discussion there, and so presentations are generally held there, and so different fire departments from all over Long Island will proceed to Suffolk County for training on these events, and then take them back on a local level if it pertains to their town. So not having it currently in the town, you know, to invest the cost in training, but if it's something that for foreseeable future, they can go to the Suffolk County Fire Academy and get training on it, and then a company like this would bring it to the town, go over training procedures, outline, what points of attack, should a fire exist. And so all that comes into, but I think for them to invest that kind of money, they probably would want to know if the town is interested in moving forward.
Well, I'm not talking about training, I was just talking about vetting it with them and getting feedback on it.
Yes.
That's what I was talking about.
Oh, of course, and that'll be addressed.
Just like when we were doing the waste to energy thing, he didn't really get out in the community and properly vet the project, so that would be helpful.
Right, so again, as you're the point person on this,
Okay.
can you pursue all the matters that we discuss and come back and present before the board? An
Absolutely.
update?
Yeah.
And I
Jeff
think
Murphy's
Jeff,
looking to
Jeff
talk.
is looking to
Yep.
talk. So we'll get an update on this. And thank you, Ken, for taking the lead. And then eventually you'll work with Catherine Kent on code revision if it goes along those lines. Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Good morning. I did not get the benefit of seeing what Dan has produced. He came to see us at our Tuesday pre-submission meetings back when we had those about a year and a half ago. I know he's been shopping this around, talking to a number of people about it. And a couple of questions rise up immediately without having the benefit of reviewing what Dan has. Size is obviously an issue of them. We've actually seen proposals come to us as a concept level, and they've been in size of a roll-off container all the way up to properties that would be like a solar farm. These would be a solar battery farm, and the one that was proposed was an industrially zoned property that was 35 acres in size. What zones would they be allowed in? Would they be just limited to industrial? One proposal that was submitted to us was in a commercial zoning district. How many do we need in the town? Would they just be serving the town residents? And as Dan correctly pointed out, it's like solar farms. They're not serving just the residents of Riverhead. The electricity just goes back into the grid and it serves where the energy is needed. How many do we need in Riverhead? And then one thing I would ask is that I'm going to get the information from Dan. I'm going to forward that on to our planning consultants who are doing our comprehensive plan update, AKRF. They actually have a lot of knowledge and expertise in this. When you visit their website, they've actually represented projects that develop 40 megawatts of power. They're very large projects. So are we talking about small accessory type of facilities to existing development? Are we talking a solar battery farm? Are we talking about a regional type of facility? So we really need to be careful as to what we're considering in the town. So we're doing our comprehensive plan update. We're doing a sustainability element to it. I think this would be dovetailed quite nicely into that, and having AKRF with that knowledge and expertise can evaluate this as part of that overall package.
Great.
Thank you, Jefferson.
I appreciate your remarks.
Dan, real quick.
They've done quite a bit of work. Yes?
At the end of the day, I look at things as, what are the benefits to the residents of the town of Riverhead? What are the benefits?
Grid
for it?
resiliency, your grid's gonna work, it's going to evolve as society evolves, right? That's what, you're gonna maintain, you have power. That helps. There's also tax dollars that come in. We're not using anything. We don't need water sent into it. We don't need any kids in school. We're not utilizing any service. It's sit on the ground, in the back, out of the way, and done. I do want to address the 35 acres. Because this is my business, that 35 acres is, I think 9 of it is developable. I think the developer I don't represent, they're going to have a tremendously hard time dealing with the EC setbacks. It's right next to, I believe, if I'm correct, the Riverhead Lumber Supply. And I've spoken to them just as in a friendly manner and said, I don't see how that's going to work there, but that's not for me to decide. They are, that's a transmission size. There are other batteries, same technology. Again, they're 10,000, 12,000 square feet, and it's like an add-on to the system. And at peak times delivers that energy. They, utilized in different ways. The big transmission, and this is, should be checked when I sort of, there aren't going to be one this block, the one the next block. We're talking the transmission style of, let's say, 4 acres. That's, one for Riverhead, maybe one for Southold. It's not, every other, and you just don't keep peeping them down, because you don't need to, right? It's just Yeah, it's like substations.
But we as a board, through special permits, would monitor the size
There
that
you
we're
go.
going to allow and the placement where we're going to allow, so.
Without a doubt. And
We're just
that's-
here for a work session to introduce the topic. There's a lot of work that has to be done on it.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
And, yeah, this is just the beginning.
Yeah, you have existing code if you saw it as a public utility, which some towns do, or you can create a code, but you obviously can't control it through the code.
And it most definitely has to be included in the comprehensive plan.
So something something to look at, and along the same lines of what Tim was saying. One thing about us in Riverhead, Riverhead tends to solve a lot of regional issues and problems, so certainly something like this we have to look at and see what the benefits are directly to our residents.
Sure. And we say that it's, again, these are not just gonna happen in Riverhead, they're already going on everywhere around here. It's
Just
happening
that-
throughout Long Island. too.
Just that those of us, living here, we know that too often we're worrying about all the other regional issues when we need to look at what our residents want and what we want in Riverhead. Thank you, Dan.
All right.
Dan, IDA benefits eligible, or would you apply for them, or?
Depends on the developer, would go through it. I know they have in the town of Brookhaven, and they figured out the math of how to actually address that. I don't go into the tax situation in some of my contracts, quite frankly. They say stay out of it. But it would be addressed, and it has been. And quite frankly, the head of the IDA in Brookhaven, I saw him last week, and he's very well seasoned to it, because they've got a lot going on in that town.
I know.
Yeah, we got a lot, let's just say they got a lot going on, but, yeah, it's been addressed, and it will be. So, there are many resources. Again, I would implore that you utilize NYSERDA for any of it. That email should kind of suffice of what's going on. Sorry it was so big, but just figured I'd send it.
Dan?
Thank you, Dan.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Dan.
Have a good day.
Okay.
Happy Easter and
Okay.
Passover.
All right.
Moving along.
Moving forward, I'll now call one of our planners, Greg Berman, to discuss the next two items. The first item is matters surrounding SECRA update related to Chernoff Medical Suites. Greg, can you, thank you.
All right, good morning, everybody. We have an update for a special permit and site plan application, which is known as the Chernoff Professional Office Building, which is a two-story, 5,300 square foot medical office building, which is proposed on the south side of Main Road in Aquabog. This was one of Karen Glut's applications that she was reviewing prior to her retirement. I'm now picking up where she left off. This application was reviewed. We did initiate a type 1 coordinated secret review last year, and then COVID happened. We've sent out those coordination letters. We received correspondence back from all of those involved agencies. Just a brief kind of discussion of the project. Like I said, it is a roughly 5,300 square foot footprint, two-story medical office. They are proposing landscaping, lighting, parking, all related improvements. They are proposing 76 parking stalls, which is what classified it as a type 1 action under the town code. Basically, at this point, we have received all the correspondence from involved agencies. I do have a resolution to issue a negative declaration. What that will do is that will conclude the secret process. The applicant has a pending zoning board of appeals application. They are waiting for the secret determination because it was coordinated review. Closing the secret will allow the zoning board to act, and then the town board can further process the application. We still would need to hold a special permit public hearing. That has not been done yet. That cannot be done until the applicant receives the necessary relief from the zoning board. So what we have here is a resolution which I've distributed to you, and I did attach the just site alignment page. I wasn't going to give you the whole packet for the site plan, but that'll just give you the quick and dirty version of the site orientation. It was in the packet with the paper clip. Yep, the top page right there, that is the site plan. Again, this was something that had been pending for over a year now, so this was not the first time the site plan was distributed. I'm sure Karen had spoken about this before in order to get to the secret classification point. But I'm just here to kind of vet any questions the board may have, if any concerns, to try to move this application along.
I thought we looked at, go ahead, Tim.
Greg, if I remember back when they came to planning session for this, one of the things we talked about in that area was the way the NEFA Stipe agency is set back off the road with trees and landscaping in front of it, so it's not all that noticeable. that they agreed to do the same thing here. They pushed back off the road, and it will be screened in the front with landscaping and such, so it's, not that you won't see it at all, you'll see it, but it blends in more naturally for the area. I know that's some current concerns that the residents of Aquaborg have with development, that it, you know, they don't want to see this big thing just sitting there on the side of the road.
Correct.
And I think they agreed and they pushed it back, and I know they went back over this a couple times, so.
Correct.
Looking at the site plan here, it looks like they've done that.
And that's something that, I mean, the town board can address. Right now, the site is wooded, it is completely vegetated. You know, right now, the proposed front yard setback, I believe, is 62 feet to the front of the building from the property line. So, I mean, the board could look at if they'd like to, rather than clear it and plant some, you know, nicely manicured landscaped area, the board could require, you know, maybe like a 50-foot existing
Right.
landscape buffer. It really would depend on the quality of the trees, the quality of the vegetation there, but that could absolutely be utilized by the board to kind of soften the appearance from Main Road to kind of visually screen it a little bit better.
Right.
Greg, this map's a little bit tiny.
Yep.
Just, I know we looked at two different office buildings. Is this one on the south side?
Correct, this is on the south side.
And it says it's right by the Witch's Hat, too.
Yes, the Witch's Hat is on the property located directly to the east. That was one of the,
Across the street from Union Avenue.
yes.
Yeah, but we looked at one on the other side, right by Union as well.
We do have two pending special permit applications, you're correct, for medical offices on the northwest corner of Union, on the northeast corner of Union and Main Road. Those are being proposed by a common project sponsor. We have not yet received their traffic impact statement on that. There was concerns about that, specifically to the Union Avenue and Main Road intersection. Like I said, I did pick this up from Karen, so I wasn't involved with it from its inception, but I did kind of just do a quick analysis of it. Now, the applicant is aware of this development in the terms of the preparation for their traffic impact statement. I think this is a little bit different, though, because when you look at this property and how it's going to impact the traffic flows from this site would not necessarily create a impact at the Union Avenue and Main Road intersection, because anybody entering this site would be coming from Main Road. I mean, you know, realistically, anybody coming up Cross River would then get onto 25 and enter the site, or anybody coming from east would enter from 25. So I don't think that it would necessarily create any conflicting turning movements at that Union Avenue and Main Road intersection. But they are aware of that when they're preparing their traffic impact statement for those two other projects.
Right, and, you know, it's been a while, so refresh me. I think the other one, the one on the other side of the street, we had a discussion about, I feel like they went from 2 stories to more of a campus style. There was a discussion about that.
That is correct.
The community, I think, didn't like the height of it or something.
I believe that was actually a request of the town board,
Yes.
which it is something that did kind of cross my mind,
Right.
Specifically as I'm picking this application up.
Right, that's what I'm wondering.
You know, we kind of had the one comment from the other, which obviously it's the same geographic area. So I mean, that is a question that I did have, just how we've gotten here. Again, I haven't,
Right, because on the
Karen
other
kept
side,
extensive files, I haven't gone through the stacks and stacks of everything, but
I know, and there
that
were
is a
stacks.
question, and really that's for the board to consider in terms
I
of.
think we have to stay on topic, because other projects, you have to give the developer or anybody of interest the opportunity to listen in on discussions. And that's why we do have an agenda, and we put it out before. So to start deviating and speaking about another project and not giving the applicant or any other board member the opportunity to know what's going on, so let's just stay with what.
No, I'm sorry,
well,
but
so-
this is directly related. Just wanted to ask one more thing about that. So, yeah, the discussion was that we went from a 2-story to a campus layout, and now, like you're saying, right across the street is a 2-story, that's all.
Correct, so
Just
I mean,
checking
so
on
so
that.
let's remove any reference to any other project. Let's
Yeah,
just look
because
specifically at this
We're
project.
gonna have
with-
some
with-
legal,
so-
some
well,
legal
so let's-
ramifications on this, and
Let's look at this project.
Yes.
The
It's not
town
legal.
board
Thank
is
you. It's
reviewing
not
a
illegal.
special
Thank
permit
you. Bob would
application
have stopped us.
for a 2-story building for this site. We're removing any other discussion of any other site.
I
The
appreciate.
town board is reviewing this special permit.
Okay.
In the review of this special permit, the town board is considering a 2-story building. it's up to the town board in its discretion if they're gonna grant a special permit, if they want the two-story building, or if they find that it's out of character. That's a decision for the town board to make specifically pertaining to this application, irregardless of any other development in the area. So
Okay.
that is a question that is relevant to this specific application. It is not off-topic.
Right.
And really, that's what we're here for, is to, you know, move
Bob,
this
is it
application
a
along.
problem, is it a problem when we're talking about one project just to refer to discussions from other projects that are very similar?
I would say the following: I don't think it's an illegal question, as long as you're not making decisions on the other projects without having
Right.
the individual have an opportunity to be heard. It's unfair, I believe, for any board to discuss a project without the project sponsor having an opportunity to hear what's going on and be able to comment.
Well, we're not making it, like you said, we're not making any decisions.
So I mean, if it's just a generalized conversation without any specific recommendations or findings, that's fine, but if you're going to do anything with respect to a project where the project sponsor, the applicant, is unaware that you're having the discussion, I believe that's, you know, while it's maybe not a legal issue, it's improper.
Right, well, we're not making decisions, and I was just looking at all the projects together in one area,
It's
that's all.
just a common sense approach. If you have one across the street that you said, okay, we want this, and they've done it, and the project that we are here to talk about is not that same thing, then we are making the comparison logically and saying, why is the one that's before us now not a one-story campus style, similar that we asked the project across the street to do, and they complied? So, to me,
Again,
it's
I'll
a
chat,
very
I think that's a
valid
fair
conversation.
discussion. Yeah, I think that's fair.
And
Yeah,
that-
absolutely.
As long as it's general.
We're not making
Right.
any changes or saying what they should or shouldn't do with the other project. We know what the other project is. That's already been established. Now we have another one coming in, and we're saying, hey, wait a minute. Across the street, when we spoke to them, we didn't want a two-story building. The people in Aquabog don't want two-story buildings.
Right.
They want to keep it more rural, and like I said, with the setbacks, I like the setbacks. But we may have to look at this as a board, which is our right, to say, hey, look, maybe not two stories here. Maybe we need to break it down into two separate buildings, much like they did across the street, and two one-story buildings, as opposed to one two-story building.
I do agree with you. I mean, the one question that I'm running into, like I said, being that I wasn't in from the inception, you know, we initiated a secret coordinated review. They've made zoning board of appeal applications predicated upon this two-story structure. You know, not that it's too late to go and kind of have that conversation, but, you know, to me, that at this stage in the game and the process, I know this application had been floating around in some form or another for quite a number of years. It has gone through prior reviews. If that was a desire of the board, I believe and again, not that it's too late, but we should have coordinated on those set of plans or had the applicant review it. I don't know that necessarily, I'm not saying that ties the board into sticking with this plan, but, you know, we coordinated with coordinated agencies based on a two-story building. For the applicant to go back, I mean, due to the size constraints of the property, I don't know what they could, you know, redesign. I mean, that's,
Well, the
But when
problem is,
again,
like
it's
you
not,
said,
we're not,
this
we're
has
not,
been-
we're not obliging the board to, you know, approve this project in its form. But maybe that's something that the board would like to have the applicant come back and, you know, discuss further.
But when the agencies are looking at, let's say they're looking at an area, do they know there's another pending project there? Are they given that information? I would think that comes from you guys.
Well, so I mean, when we review, you know, the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, New York State Department of Transportation, you know, it's really, they don't have a horse in the race whether it's a one-story building or a
Right.
two-story building. So that's not something,
Oh,
when
you
we
mean
initiate a
which
coordinator review,
agencies?
we're asking for lead agency status. You know, so they'll respond to, they either have an objection to town board being lead agency, or, you know, they have no objection. Like I said, whether it's in keeping with the community character or the, you know, desires of the community, that's not really in these other involved agencies' purview when they're responding to a lead agency request.
No, that comes down to the town board, but the
Correct.
thing is, like you said, this has been floating around so long. The other one came in the meantime, and we made the suggestions. This, I wasn't even aware it was still active. It's been so long since we've heard or seen anything about it. So, you know, to say, okay, yeah, maybe you need to relook at this and go to two one-story buildings or one one-story building, maybe a bigger footprint, rather than what you have here. I'm not sure what you can and can't do with it as far as the zoning and the setbacks, but, you know, because this is such an old application, I don't feel bad saying, hey, I'd like to talk to them, have them come back in and talk to them about changing it.
Right, and I mean, I can't think of any two-story buildings in that area. And I know that they're pretty, you know, they really like to keep things sort of in character of their area up there. There's not it's not like other industrial areas.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's not industrial. I mean,
it's not.
they are proposing a
what I'm saying.
two-story building. I do believe I did an analysis again with the other application. There are some two-story buildings. I mean, there's a number of single-family residents which are two-story, potentially 2.5. So there are other two-story buildings in that area, but I would not call it industrial. I mean, it's a professional office. They did provide elevations. I mean, it is in keeping with the design guidelines of the zoning district. They are using natural materials. They are proposing some natural stone and wood siding, so it's not going to be a steel industrial building in the middle of Acquabah.
No, I didn't mean to indicate that. I'm just saying that, you know, in looking at the area, you drive by there all the time. It's not an area where we see a lot of two-story buildings, and that's why it was a concern for us with this other project. And that's why, it just brought it to mind for me when we started discussing it. And I do think it's appropriate to have that discussion. Thank you.
All right, so I mean, in terms of acting on a negative declaration, if the board has questions and concerns, it might not be appropriate to vote on that.
And I don't
if we're
think so.
saying-
We're going to have to, what Catherine and Tim Hubbard addressed, I guess there has to be further discussion.
All right, I mean, I can inform the applicant if we'd like to place it on in a work session for next week, potentially, just to try to move this along rather quickly. I can invite them to a work session, and we can discuss this further if you'd like.
That sounds great, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Have a good day.
Not done with me
You're
yet.
also here.
Oh, we can't say goodbye to
Getting
you.
away that
Our
quickly.
final discussion item today, I'll be asking our town attorney, Bob Kazakevich, and Chief Hegmiller to come forward for discussion surrounding the possible change. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, there's
Yeah.
two more. We have
This
to
one should be a little
What? I'm sorry.
more quickly.
Yeah, I know, we're trying to.
All right, so.
The next discussion matter is the CEQA update relating Bart's Drugstore.
All right, so Bart's Drug Store, just a quick recap, is a site plan application submitted to add a second-story addition onto the existing Bart's Drug Store pharmacy on East Main Street. They are proposing the second-story addition for the purposes of adding a two-bedroom apartment unit. We did initiate a coordinated review in January of this year. We distributed the lead agency request. We did receive a number of comments from involved agencies. We heard back from the State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. They reviewed the application. The Bart's Drug Store is not considered to be a contributing structure to the Riverhead Main Street Historic District. That historic district is on the State and National Register of Historic Places. So the modification or the addition to the building would not be affecting any contributing historic structures. It was reviewed by the Landmarks Preservation Commission. They were generally favorable to the application. They made some recommendations with regards to matching the brick colors, glass railings, I mean, really kind of architectural elements, just to be more consistent with the downtown area. Nothing significant. It was reviewed by the ARB at the last meeting. The architect, Marty Sandlewski, did attend that meeting. ARB had some recommendations, again, with regards to material colors, just kind of detailed nuances of the project. He will be redesigning and moving forward with that. But at this point, we have a negative declaration prepared for this one, which will allow the applicant to initiate their work with the health department for the increase in the sanitary flow. They will need to obviously have a site plan public hearing. In the meantime, before we schedule that, we will go back to the ARB with the application. They'll make some revisions. Hopefully, the ARB will give sign-off, and then we can move forward with the site plan approval.
Right, and by the way, I was present also at the ARB discussion of this, one of the discussions, which you alluded to, Landmark said as well, was to bring up, I think on the backside, I think to bring up more of the brick on
Yeah.
one of the sides.
Correct, yes. Right now, the front elevation, it's proposed to match the exterior finish of the Suffolk County Culinary School. I believe LPC and ARB both recommended that the existing brick from Bart's Drug Store be carried up through the top of the front
Right.
elevation, just so that it's consistent with the existing building. I mean, and these are, not significant changes. They can be addressed through simple revisions. Nothing would preclude the board from adopting the negative declaration for this application.
Well, there was also a discussion of changing where the stairs are on the back, but I think they were not able to do that.
Yeah, I heard that. I didn't really,
Right.
I didn't really get it. It wasn't clear to me. I know there was some concerns
For
about where the
religious
stairs
reasons.
are, if they're gonna impact the access to that building. I don't really see that being the case, but again, I mean, ARB is an advisory board to the town board. Once we get their recommendations, once they've either recommended to approve with conditions, or deny, we'll relay those findings to the town board, and ultimately it will be the town board's decision to, grant the site plan as they see fit. So, this one's pretty simple. I
Very
did
simple.
prepare a negative declaration in Minitrack, so if the board's amenable to it, we can, the board can vote on that at their next meeting next week.
Yes. I say go forward it.
All right.
You take a vote?
Don't vote at work
I mean,
session.
yeah, we don't need to vote. The resolution is in Minitrack. If the board wishes, they
Right, we'll
put it
take a
put it
vote.
on the agenda, vote on it at the meeting.
That's it, yeah.
All right.
Sounds very simple.
That's
Thank
it.
you,
All right,
Greg.
now I'm done.
Oh, now you're done, and
Now we can
Julie-
say goodbye.
I know some people have to get out of here, so we're trying to move it along. Enjoy your holidays.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Our final discussion today is Bob Kosakevich and Chief Edgar Miller. Can you please come forward? We're going to be discussing matters surrounding possible change in the town code, section 289-21 and/or section 289-22, parking requirements on Central Avenue and Oak Street in Wading River. I know that our office has received complaints on that location concerning the beach. And I think, Chief, you have also received complaints on that location, and just recently the chief put it forward to address this location, this intersection.
Dave,
And
You
we're
wanna
here. You can sit here.
you want to sit here, I'll move down?
No, I can take this one.
Well, you need a mic.
Oh, he's gonna stay there? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll move over. And all my stuff.
And this type of issue has been occurring outside throughout all of the East End. I know South Pole has recently taken some very stringent precautions to try to limit traffic and garbage and people without permits at the beach. And Chief, I want to thank you for acting quickly on this, and the mic's yours.
Okay, so we had two complaints. I talked to the one complaint, Mrs. Frizell. It's an ongoing problem. I mean, it's not really, it's always been there. It was exacerbated last year because of COVID, so there's more people down at the beach. And we have had it in other areas of the town, Reeves Beach the same way, out at Iron Pier. It's when the park lot becomes full, people look for other places to park on the side streets. So you have Central and Oak Street out in Wading River, two small streets that are right next to our parking lot. And people decide to park on there and use our beaches. Non-town residents decide to park there and use our beaches. So one proposal is to make those streets parking by beach permit only. We tried that up in Reeves Park at one time. Some streets are that way, but others decided not to go that way because they didn't want to limit parking for their family and their friends. So I did talk to Mrs. Trezone, so I brought that up to her, and she said that most of the residents down there were in favor of parking by permit only. They could park their car on the street, and they would allow their friends or their relatives that visit to park in their driveway, so.
Makes sense.
So, Bob, did you want to add to this discussion? Because I know that you put it
Yeah,
to
I
vote.
don't know the backdrop. I do know that on March 25th, I believe it was, the chief had sent an email out to, I think, the town board and to myself, indicating that there was a sort of dire need to try to address this and possibly get it on for the April 6th town board meeting. So my office and Laura especially got it prepped up and ready to go, and I do know that there's going to need to be a little bit of a further revision depending upon if we use 289-21, because that code specifically allows for the establishment of parking by beach permit, but then it also adds where it's otherwise prohibited. So looking at the code, I couldn't find anything that says Oak or Central currently prohibits parking. So we're going to have to do a correlating change to the parking prohibited, which is 289-10, to say that the same area is now prohibited parking, and then this would be allowing that to lay over and allow it to be parked by permit only. There's a seasonal one you can do as well. So there's a choice, but I thought it might be cleaner just to make it the carte blanche. So that was what was proposed. I don't know if you want to make it a seasonal one. We can do some changes. And if the board's amenable, we would then finally get this in and get it queued up for the April 6th meeting, with the idea that we would hold a public hearing the first meeting in May. And I do know that we got to change that, because I see we put an evening time in, which I presume we're still not doing evening meetings.
So Bob, what are you
Not
talking,
yet, so-
what are you talking about, the carte blanche or the seasonal? Because, I mean, I was thinking, you know, if you're gonna do parking by permit only, residents, and you'd have to, we have 30-day rentals in Riverhead.
Right.
I would think you'd wanna have, for the 30-day rental, they'd wanna have a permit as well, right?
Well, they would have to get a parking permit through a beach parking permit. That's what they would have to do. The other one is, it talks about a seasonal parking permit. It's still a beach parking permit, but it's seasonal. I think it's from May 15th to September 15th. So the 289-22 talks about no parking between those times. Once those time periods end, parking gets opened up. This section is again, just says, listen, the only way you can park there is by a beach parking permit. And as I indicated, we'd also have to adopt the correlating section, which would say that it's otherwise prohibited, so we'd have to ban other parking there in the same
It would be
location.
treated like our beach parking lots. You would need a permit there to be.
Basically, yeah.
I see.
But this is separate, so this you're proposing legislation to help the residents.
Yes.
And so the idea.
Or the complaints,
is-
yes.
Is to take care of the residents, to give them preferential treatment to their access to their own homes.
Right.
It's not, just to clarify, it's not, we're not giving out a beach parking permit that's gonna be utilized. This, I think what the residents generally want is a permit for themselves for that particular street, and so that they have access to their own home. You live there, you go out on a Saturday, you go food shopping at King Cullen, and you come back, and you can't find a place to park on your own street on a Saturday afternoon. I'm a Wading River resident, we go to the beach all the time, and I will say that often we do turn away, we do go back, because there is no place to park within the beach, it's filled up and so forth.
And-
So the parking sticker, I believe, that you're proposing would be for these individual streets, specifically for those residents to reserve parking essentially in front of their homes, is that correct?
It's going to be the same permit that we use for our beach parking lot.
No, we don't have a specialized permit process for a resident to have park in front of their
Can't be
house.
by permit on this particular street?
We don't
Well,
have
yeah,
that,
beach
we don't have
permit.
that codified.
Beach
It's
permit.
it's gonna be a beach permit, so it would be the
Yes.
same permit, the bronze, or whatever the case is, that would allow you to park at Breeze Beach, Iron Pier, South Jamesport, Wading River Beach. It would be that same
That permit
permit.
takes you down to Cedar,
It would allow you
and
to
Central
park-
Avenue and Oak Street.
Correct.
It would allow you to park there with your permit, even though you're not a resident of those.
You know, during the summer months, people can't park in front of their houses.
So it
They
does
have
two
to-
things. It gives you more parking if you have the permit for a resident to get to the beach, but it alleviates the non-residents who are using those parking on those streets to get them out of the neighborhood. They shouldn't be there using the beach anyway.
That's right.
They're just
Right.
circumventing the need to have a permit to use our beach.
That's right. And
That's-
that's one of
that's
the points I wanted to
correct,
bring up.
yeah.
Well, we talked about this yesterday in code revision, and actually, I reached out to the two people that emailed us and I had a long conversation with one of them. I left a message for one, but I had a long conversation with the other one. And, you know, if we could take a moment to look at this big picture, this is a problem, and this has come up at Reeves, this has come up at other beaches, And if it was a problem before, it's really been exacerbated now because of COVID, and a lot of people came out and want to use the beaches. So we need to really look at this big picture, because our beaches really should be for our residents. And what's happening at Wading River is you have people, you know, circumventing the process and parking on other streets or parking in other places, and then I think they're walking in through where the boat ramp used to be, or even just walking right in.
Councilwoman, we'll have people drop their families off at the beach, drive down to downtown Wading River, park in the parking lot down there, and then walk back to the beach themselves.
Right.
You have that happen right on Roanoke too. They'll drop them off down there at our beach, and they'll go park at the circle down the riverhead, take an Uber back to the beach.
Right, and what the Wading River residents were expressing to me, and I know because my kids took swimming lessons at this beach, it's not really a big beach. It's actually not a wide area. Then they've got people who are fishing, you know, and the beach is just filling up. So I think we should do this with the parking by permit only, but I would want to check with the people who live on that street, if we could check with everyone who it affects and make sure it's okay with them, because I was thinking, well, what happens when they have company, you know, and then, you know, their company can't even park on the street. So we have to make sure this is good with all them. It seems like they're gonna want it. But just as far as the beaches, I think we really have to look at things. I think the fact that there were more people coming to our beaches last year isn't going to change. It seems like a lot of the people that came out are still coming out or have stayed. And we have to look at this. I do like what a lot of what Southold did. Are you familiar with that, Dave?
Yes, we are.
Well, and here's a copy of an article about it.
Yes, they put limitations across their
Yeah,
beaches.
Southold actually moved on this last June, because we started to see this problem, you know, around Memorial Day, we started to see this happening. And one of the things that one of the residents brought up to me is that they feel badly because you've got young kids there who are just working the beach sometimes, and you have problems. So Southold actually created a beach patrol task force that's consisting of additional officers, bay constables, traffic control officers, and other staffing necessary to control access and conduct nighttime, shore-time patrols. And then on the Southold beaches, just, you know, I'm not saying we have this, I just think it's something we ought to toss about. People entering beaches have to produce verification of town residency, but guests accompanied with the residents are not required to show proof. Just some things that I think we should have a broader discussion about our beaches, because we should be protecting our residents first.
And I totally agree, Catherine. Myself and the chief have been in discussion, and hopefully we're going to try to present something real soon. It is approaching the beach season, and there's been a lot of concerns, not only here in Riverhead. Southampton had a terrible problem this year. They had people camping on the beach for weeks, and we are aware, we do receive the complaints, and we're going to hopefully put something forward soon.
Good. Well, one thing I'll say again, in Wading River, you know, you got a small area, and then you've got someone who sets up fishing, and, you know, you've got all these other people coming on the beach, and it's hard for Wading River. And as we know, we've had some of these discussions about the parking issues at Reeves Beach as well. They don't have that many spots. So at some point, we have to have a little discussion even about day passes.
It's definitely a bigger picture. I mean, our beaches should be for our residents.
It should be for our residents.
Non-residents should use the state park. We have two of them.
And we also we didn't sell day passes last year also, in an effort to curtail the amount of people. And it's a work in progress, and so we're going to probably come up with some proposed further.
Back to the agenda issue, I would want to hear from the neighbors as well
I
before.
spoke to Mrs. Frenholm, which was one of the complainants on this, and she said that she had polled the neighbors, so I just took her for her word. But I think the residents definitely should, and I think the public hearing would address that as far as
Absolutely.
they can come out.
Right.
And
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I do, you know, just like Frank said, I think it's proactive of us to poll, you know, if we could poll all the residents along there and make sure that really is what everybody wants, and if that's what the people on that street want, I think it's a good idea. It's a first step, and then at some point, hopefully, we'll have another discussion item of the big picture.
Right, I also spoke to Mrs. Cox, and she is amenable to pay for the permit. And she also polled all the community, and we've been in contact with other members of the community, and it looks like this is what they want. And we'll just keep on going, and we'll move to Jamesport next week. But Wading River is an issue, and I'm glad that it's being addressed.
We can put a notification on each resident that the public hearing's coming up for this topic.
Yeah, and that's the purpose of a public hearing, is to have the entire public, they are aware, they're notified that we're having this public hearing, and they'll come forward, and we'll have correspondence, and it's an open process.
And
Okay.
this is an effort to take care of those residents. It's
Correct.
not to hamper, it's not being designed to
Right.
keep other people away. It's that you live there, you bought that house, you're in walking distance to the beach, you have a right to be able to return to your home. So this is an effort, to protect those residents.
Right,
And
this
I'm
was
in agreement, Ken, and so if the people that live on that street could reach out to us, even, if they're not able to attend the public hearing, if anyone on those streets would like to reach out to us and, give us your thoughts on it, just so we make sure we're doing what the people in the area want and need.
There's a lot of factors. You have La Plage Restaurant there.
Yes,
Right.
that-
the parking
that
lot.
They're utilizing parking spaces across from the
Right.
public beach. And it's just, it's a very small area. So it's definitely strained.
And I know we are getting booths, the other parking lot there is not really regulated, I don't think. At some point, we may need to regulate it and put a booth there as well.
It is regulated.
Wading River
Lodge
has
has
The second one, that second
identified
overflow
parking
parking?
spaces that they can park, and I think they have a lease agreement with the town.
Correct.
So
They
there's,
do.
spots
You need a
that
parking permit to go to Wading Beach. Yep,
Very good.
I know,
Thank
I
you.
gotta get one.
You gotta get mine too.
I'm old enough,
So,
senior one.
So Ken, can you just follow up on some of the,
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to
I-
hearing from all those, especially the
Yes.
individual residents there, absolutely.
Yep, me too.
Great, thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank
And
you.
Bob.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Chief
Right.
and Bob, have a good holiday.
Thank you.
And I wish everybody a very nice holiday.
Yes.
I tried to
Thank you,
wear-
everyone. This
I tried to wear Easter colors
Hey,
today.
Chief, can you just hang on until we go off air?
This concludes our discussion item. Devin, can you please come forward and read the resolutions, please?
Sure. Everybody ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution number 1 authorizes the issuance of $725,917 bond of the town of Riverhead, Suffolk County, New York, to pay the cost of the improvements to the various parking lots of the Riverhead Public Parking District in the town of Riverhead, Suffolk County, New York. Number 2, public interest order for the increase and improvement of facilities of the Riverhead Parking District in the town of Riverhead, Suffolk County, New York. Resolution number 3 authorizes the supervisor to execute a Sixth Amendment agreement authorizing the town to accept funds from Suffolk County Office for the Aging for the purpose of supplementing the town's nutrition program for the elderly. Number 4, appoints the law firm of Smith, Finkelstein, Lundberg, Eisler, and Yakubaski LLP as special counsel in commencing a court challenge to the actions by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation under the Wild, Scenic, and Recreational Rivers Act, and authorizes the supervisor to execute a retainer agreement regarding same.
And I'm
This
gonna say, this should have been done already.
Yeah.
There was discussion of this
Yeah.
being
I
ratified, but Bob
understand it
will
was
explain.
discussed.
Right.
It was
Why,
discussed.
that should have been done a long time ago.
Well, it wasn't a long time ago,
Well, a few
but,
weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't that long.
Months or so, yeah.
well, I don't know when it was discussed with the board, but I know that we filed, I believe, around March 17th, the action. And as the board knows, I think we're in agreement with the litigation being filed, so this is not pro tunc, and it is something that should have been done, and it's something that we want to, make effective from the original date of the board. I mean, if you want some additional language in the resolution, I wasn't present during that discussion, so I don't know when you actually spoke with council and advised them to proceed.
I think it should have come up as a resolution before we actually took the action.
Well,
That's,
Right.
that's my.
Exactly. This is sort of doing things backwards, and this isn't really fair to the public, as a matter of transparency, this should have been out already. I don't know why this is just now being done when we're already, have made movement on that.
I have no answer for that. I mean, I was not participating in those discussions, but I'm not sure what the answer is. If you don't want to do it, then there's no resolution at all authorizing it, so.
No, it's not that it was just the procedure and how it was
Yep,
done, I think
yep.
was incorrect. We should have put a resolution up before we went and signed any agreement with anybody.
I agree. I agree. It
That's
should have
my
been-
only
It should have been
complaint.
done on March
I totally
16th.
agree with
Right.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
Agree, and I'm
Okay.
asking the supervisor, why was this done in this way?
Well, you're gonna have to ask the attorney because you're a council member just like I am, and it's the attorney is responsible for that. So why was it done this way? Okay, so let's not put the blame here. That's why we have 4 town attorneys. We have 4 town attorneys here, and if this came in through and there is an issue, we should collectively talk about it. And if we have to go back and change something, we are. We should and we will. So I think Catherine Kent was asking you, why was this done? You're the legal attorney and you're putting forward this resolution.
Well, Bob had already answered, I was asking you as the supervisor.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, I can only say that I'm sure one thing we don't want to do is telegraph our actions. So that's part of it's a timing question, of course. And I think that a lot of it has to do with, I mean, we talk about wanting to do it ahead of time, and I know in the past, sometimes, and I can recall one specific instance where we actually adopted resolutions authorizing action, and then we looked further into it, and we determined that there was not a good basis for bringing action. So that was, the counter scenario. Again, it came to my attention that we didn't have a resolution, and I looked to correct it.
Who brought it to
If-
your attention?
I'd rather not say.
Okay, and that person should have brought it to our attention and not bring it to the town board, because we have to sometimes adapt and work together, but it should, I'm sorry that you're telling me it was brought to your attention and that you can't relate that, and then now it comes up here. Sometimes we all have to communicate and adjust things, and that's why we're a council, and not that we're gonna speak together in threes, because that violates open meetings law, but we should be able to, if somebody sees a discrepancy somewhere, be a team and bring it forward, and then it comes up in front of a town board meeting, and you can't discuss who that person is. It's a little, something's wrong here, there's no synergy, but let's resolve this.
I'm trying to correct an oversight, and it
Okay.
feels like, we're ungrateful, which is very disparaging.
It is, you're right.
To be honest. My office tries to do everything we can in our will and power.
Right.
And this is why you have an eraser on a pencil.
That's right.
And I'll tell you who it was. It was Denise Civiletti of Riverhead Local who brought it to my attention. And again, I'm looking to correct it. I know the board granted, had discussed it and had approved the action. This is just memorializing the prior action that the board had memorialized and said it would approve. So, again, it's a little disappointing, just to
Okay,
say.
well,
Bob,
We'll get corrected
Bob,
here.
we appreciate your actions. This was
We
just a
do.
misstep, and you're getting us right back on track. Right?
Thank you.
yes, and, yeah, moving, as a matter of transparency, we all understand that if the public is if we're going to spend public money on a lawsuit, then they need to know about it.
Well, again, I understand the transparency comment, but when we're looking to line up and bring a suit against somebody, I don't think we want the world to know. I think that if it's, again, a timing issue and something that, yes, we could have timed better, we could have brought the resolution up at the March 16th meeting and had the lawsuit filed on the 17th. I agree with that. But I'm not a big fan for trying cases in a public forum. I'm a big fan for trying cases where they belong, in a courthouse.
And I'm
Okay,
gonna
so
throw,
let's-
and I'm gonna throw this right back at the supervisor's office.
This
It
wasn't the
should have been
supervisor,
handled,
it was
but
my office,
we'll
I'll take
move
the
on.
blame.
We'll
No,
move
we're
on.
not moving on, just let's make it clear that the town attorney is saying that this was a mishap on his side, and he's at the moment attempting to correct the situation. And Ms. Kent, you know, we work together as a council and as a board, and if there are any type of discrepancies, we should be speaking to each other. And Bob, thank you for bringing this up. I would suggest maybe in the future, if there was a discrepancy like that before we read the resolution, that it does come up. And I
Okay.
think that would have resolved everything.
No problem.
And we're spending a tremendous amount of money going back and pointing fingers, especially from people who are running for public office. So let's just stay here, let's be civil, let's move our town forward cohesively for the betterment of our town. So Devin, can you read the
Sure.
next resolution?
Resolution number 5, reappoints a seasonal pump-out boat operator. Number 6, the publication and posting of a notice to amend the CDBG budget for program year 2019. Number 7, accepts donation for Litter Day from Riverhead Lowe's.
If I could just interject 1 minute, Devin, excuse me. I just want to mention that there are 2 resolutions in the packet accepting donations for litter. It's actually anti-litter day. We're not littering, we're picking up. Lowe's was very generous with us, donating all of the bags for the pickup. Target also was very generous with us, and anytime we accept a donation, we have to do it by resolution. So I have 2 resolutions in the packet today. Thank you.
Number 8, authorizes agreement with FC Watson Land Surveyor PC for surveying services in connection with safe routes to school.
And I will just make a comment on this one. If you look at the FIS, it's not complete, it's going to be revised. I needed to verify the source of funds, because this does have a fiscal impact. And I did speak to Dawn about that, and it would be CDBG funding. That'd be the source.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Number 9, authorizes the chief of police to execute an affiliation agreement with Utica College. Number 10, ratifies the resignation of a Bay constable. Number 11, approves leave of absence request. Number 12, approves special event Chapter 255 application for Making Strides Against Cancer Breast Cancer Walk. Number 13, approves special event Chapter 255 application for Halleckville Museum Car Show. Number 14, approves special event Chapter 255 application for Riverhead Country Fair. Number 15, authorizes the supervisor to execute a license agreement with East End Disability Associates, Inc. for property located at River Road, Calverton, and known as the Henry Pfeiffer Community Center. Number 16, authorizes the town clerk to publish and post notice of public comment period and authorizes a public hearing for the Town of Riverhead Draft Solid Waste Management Plan. Number 17, amendment fee waiver request for special event Chapter 255 Wading River Duck Pond Day. Number 18, refund request of special event Chapter 255 application fee for Muddy Princess. Number 19, ratifies the publication and posting of a request for qualifications RFQ for a transit-oriented development at the Court Street parking lot. Number 20, appoints members to Landmarks Preservation Commission.
Excuse me, Ken, are these reappointing people, or are you bringing new people in?
No, this is.
Or this is you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Joe Petroselli, I wrote a letter of intent to the town to come onto the Landmarks Committee, and he'll make an excellent addition to our already excellent committee, yeah.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Frank.
Yes, we look forward to seeing him. I'm sure he's going to be very innovative.
Yep.
Joe's got a lot of creative ideas.
Number 21, ratifies the removal of unpaid leave of absence and appoints probationary police officers. Number 22, approves construction staging license agreement with Asplund Construction in connection with National Grid Gas Main Upgrade Project. Number 23, authorizes supervisor to execute agreement with Riverhead Lacrosse Club, Inc. for referee umpire services for Town of Riverhead Police Athletic League girls grades K through 8 and boys grades K through 3 lacrosse program for 2021 calendar year. Number 24, approves special event Chapter 255 application for North Meet South Food and Drink Festival, October 2nd and 3rd, 2021. 25, Resolution 25, Town Hall Boiler Replacement Project Number 11901 closure. Number 26, accepts donation for Litter Day from Target Riverhead. Number 27, authorizes the supervisor to execute agreement for bike share program in the town of Riverhead with County of Suffolk and Pedal Share.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, this is your first legislation.
Doing good.
That's going through.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good
Let's
one.
get our bikes out.
Yes, and it's summertime, it's gonna be used very quickly, so
Absolutely.
congratulations on creating your first legislation.
I'm ready.
Very excited about that.
Thank you.
Number 28, 2019 CDBG COVID CARES Act budget adjustment. Number 29, Water District Test Well Program Project Number 81851, budget adjustment. Number 30, authorizes town clerk to publish notice for audit services for Town of Riverhead Community Preservation Fund. Number 31, refund of Cranberry Realty Associates deposit for sidewalk improvements. Number 32, establishes standard workday for an elected official. Number 33, ratifies the authorization of the supervisor to execute a license agreement with Arrows Cultured Oyster Company to allow the installation of floating upweller systems, FLUPSI, in East Creek. Number 34, encumbers 2020 funds for capital projects reserve. Number 35, encumbers funds from 2020 for the sanitation department. Number 36, approves special event Chapter 255 application for Paddle Battle. And number 37, approves special event Chapter 255 application for LIAPA Antique Tractor and Truck Show.
Supervisor, that standard workday 18 hours for elected officials? That's not
Yeah.
putting it.
Yeah, me too. Even at 3 in the morning, sometimes I'll answer an email. Is this Antique and Tractor Show the one that's at the,
Directly next to Halleckville.
oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
It's a yearly event. I
Yep.
think it was postponed last year.
yep,
Yeah, unfortunately, it's always a lot of fun.
yeah, the
And I'm
Tractor
gonna-
Association does a great job.
Yeah, they really do.
I'm gonna, well, Dave Young has all those tractors. Dave Young has a whole bunch of tractors. Yeah, it's exciting to see events back on there. Thank God for the vaccines.
And hopefully we'll be able to hold them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's hope and pray we can hold them, because it'd be nice to get things going again.
Keep wearing your masks and get your vaccinations and stop going to spring break. You may
Right.
put an end to this eventually.
Yep.
Okay, is that it? That's it. Thank you. Quite a bit of resolutions today. All right, thank you, everyone. In a moment, I'll ask to go into executive session to discuss the following items. Personnel, matters surrounding the hiring of an employee, legal matters surrounding pending litigation in the matter of Teresa Dempsey versus the town of Riverhead. Can I have a first and a second to go into executive session, please?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? So moved. Everyone have a great holiday and please be safe. Thank you.